You're listening to Filter Free America.
Well, Filter Free America is where I wanna be. Riding on the shiny black shores of oil-soaked Lady Liberty, with justice not just blind, but deaf, dumb, and unkind. Thank God I'm filter free. It's Filter Free America.
Motherfucker!
Hello, Filter Free America listeners. Welcome back to the Filter Free America podcast. I am thrilled. I am excited that you guys are back here with me. Flattered, really. Let's talk about the episode real fast, because it's a little bit of a longer episode, so I don't want to spend a lot of time bullshitting. To start, one of the most popular past episodes of the Filter Free America podcast was an episode in which I interviewed a firefighter. That episode to this day still does really good numbers. That said, a few weeks ago, I got an email via the Filter Free America website, filterfreeamerica.com. Filter Free America, America always intentionally misspelled the letter K.com. This email was from a Twin Cities area firefighter who wanted to come on the podcast and talk about what it's like being a firefighter and remain anonymous. Anonymous so he could really give listeners a look behind the curtain of the life of the firefighter. And holy shit, did he deliver. I'm going to go on record right now and say that this might be one of the most popular episodes of the Filter Free America podcast. It's got it all. In this episode, you're going to hear about things like firefighters dealing with asshole cops, firefighters having to fight people they are attempting to rescue, dealing with racial and political dynamics within a firehouse. Very interesting conversation there. Firefighters doing drugs. Say that again. Firefighters doing drugs and so much more. And of course, he also has some crazy fire call stories too. Some of those stories are like the one where he tells me about rescuing a man with a tiny dick. Yes, it's a story about a man with a tiny penis they had to rescue. That's part of the story. There's some stories about gunshot suicides, heroin overdoses, sadly rapes, and firefighters that eat the cooked flesh of people who die in fires. Now, I might have made that last one up, but the rest of it is definitely true in this episode. But real fast, let me take time to mention the sponsor of the Filter Free America podcast, and that is simplewebsite.us. Simplewebsite.us. One more time, simplewebsite.us. Now, you folks that have been around here for a while, you know this. You could probably say the ad read with me. Simple Website, what they do is their business model, their product that they're bringing to market is they have mastered the art of building websites on the Squarespace website builder. That's right. They are very good at it. They're proficient at it. They know all the tricks, all the little secrets, everything they got to do to make very functional, very useful, very clean, very nice websites. Very easily, they can do it, right? So people like myself who hate dealing with computers. I absolutely hate it. I do. I suck at it. Anybody who has to deal with me via computer or via technical devices, you guys know my hardships and my limitations, and I apologize for that. But that's why Simple Website is so important to me, because they helped me build a website from the ground up, and I didn't have to do anything but just give them simple directions about what it is that I wanted, right? I just told him, I was like, look, I need this website for this podcast. It's going to be crazy. I want it to be like my hub of interaction with the podcast. I want people to be able to get to my social media. I want people to be able to hear my podcast. I want them to be able to see a picture of my gorgeous fucking face. I want all that shit. And they said, you know what, Joey, just give a few days here. We'll get this all put together for you. And then boom, bang, bing, they did it. If you want to go see what they did, go to that website I told you about earlier, filterfreeamerica.com, filterfreeamerica.com, filterfreeamerica, America intentionally misspelled with the letter K.com, and see the website that they have built for me and that they maintain for me. Now, just so you know, you don't have to go to them if for a complete website build. For instance, some of you out there who've already got Squarespace websites, maybe you've done a good one, maybe you've done an average one, maybe it just sucks. All right, maybe you just need a little bit of help with what you've already created. Simplewebsite.us, they will help you with that too. Go to their website, make contact with them. Let them know what it is that you need, what you want to have done. They will converse with you like live, like probably not in like with you in your home or something like that, because that would be weird. But they'll like call you on the phone and talk with you about your website, what you want to have done, and they will fix it. They will make it better. They will improve it. They will make it fantastic. So definitely support the podcast by supporting the one and only true sponsor of the Filter Free America podcast, simplewebsite.us. Matter of fact, just go to their fucking website anyway. Even if you don't need a website, just go to simplewebsite.us and tell them I said hello. Lastly, let's talk about subscribing, rating, and reviewing. Please, if you haven't yet, make sure you've subscribed to the Filter Free America podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. And then once you've done that, if you're whatever platform you used to listen on, most of them have a way for you to rate and review the podcast. Sometimes it's as simple as a little heart that you click on. Or if you're on iTunes, the very, very important iTunes, you can leave a 5-star review. And you can write a little written review about the podcast, what you like about it. What do you do while you're listening to it? You can make it really sexy and freaky or whatever you want, right? So if you don't mind, take some time, leave a rating, leave a review. Definitely make sure you're subscribed. Also, let me remind you something else you can go to the website and do, filterfreeamerica.com, is find a link to the Facebook page, my personal Instagram page, Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube. If you do any of those things or all of those things, go ahead and click those links for me. Link up with the podcast via those sources. And once again, that definitely helps the podcast grow and get stronger. And that's what we want, right? We want a strong podcast. We don't want a frail podcast. We don't want a weak, limp dick version of a podcast. No, we want a strong podcast. Okay. All right, let's kick this episode off, all right? We've done enough talking. We've done enough sales pitching. I've told you what we're going to talk about, so let's name this episode. We're going to call this episode An Uncensored Look at the Life of a Fireman. You like that? That's a pretty good one. All right, so here we go. An Uncensored Look at Life as a Firefighter with Charlie right here on Filter Free America. Let's go.
Truck 14, Tanker 214, Engine 10, Engine 21, Station 28, Engine 32, possible residential structure fire. 614 response. Reports of a possible new construction home. Caller advises smoke in the garage. Smoke coming from the house and the garage door starting to warp.
1014, we're going to come around the circle. It's at Hydrant, Nottingham, Starless.
You want to know how big my balls are? Bigger than two of your heads duct taped together. I've been in the middle of shit that would make you piss your pants right now. But there ain't no medals on my chest, assholes, because I ain't no hero. I'm a fireman.
Battalion 14 in command.
Tell me how many years you've been a firefighter.
15 years.
15 years.
15 years next month.
What's the average lifespan of a firefighter? When do you become where you're too old to?
It depends. If you're working a federal job, they have a cap of, I believe, 55 for federal firefighters. Federal ruling and stuff that comes away, but it varies department to department. But I think there's not a lot that lets you go into your mid 60s. If you're a chief, maybe they let you work into your 70s.
So I was going to ask, is there like supervisors or higher rankers that can?
And also, if you're still need employment at 60 something,
you've done something wrong with your life.
oh, go get a different job.
I'll be working in my 90s.
I remember one guy who was in his 60s. I was like, okay, that guy still kicks ass and fucking busts through walls. But no, I mean, it's not a dig at anyone. You're 60.
Right.
Fucking, I don't know. You know, like in your 30s, you start feeling the decline. Mm-hmm. Right. So
who you telling? I know.
Yeah. Right. You know, like
I would hate to climb a ladder
too
right
long
now.
Hurts.
Yeah.
You know,
getting up hurts. Everything hurts.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever have like an work with an older firefighter and you guys got to start dropping hints to him? Is that ever?
Yeah, oh yeah. Buying them retirement cakes when they have no mention of retiring, crossing their name off the seniority list,
Holy shit.
putting a retired date that already happened. Yeah, shit like that. They fuck with them. And you know, it's for it's for your own good type of thing, you know, it's for the good of everybody. And you know, other than just doing the fucking job, because you could probably always find a way to dial it back and let some other young guy run ahead of you and you're just there for the overhaul and the cleanup and shit, you know.
Well, what gets really bad is when your life is in the hands of a guy who can't physically do his job, right?
There's always gonna be at least a couple other people there who may, but I mean, yeah, you're loaded down. What it is for them though, for them not retiring, why I said they should get another job, especially is you at 60, you're not supposed to be getting up 2-3 times a night, getting your sleep disrupted. Sleep 2 hours, go out for an hour. Sleep 2 hours, go out for an hour. Then you go home.
That would be the worst part.
It is the worst part. When people give shit to oh, I suppose you just ate chili, slept, and worked out all day. Maybe. If it's a good fucking day, hell yeah. But you know what? How about every time I have a night where I go out 8 times for between midnight and 7 a.m.?
Is that about an average shift? 8 calls?
As you get more seniority, you can bid different stations, different fire trucks, or whatever.
Oh, different stations, different areas are going to have different types of calls and more frequency.
Yep. So
what's the sweet spot? Is it like a
depends on the city you're in?
Okay.
You know, but
I would think like a suburban neighborhood though, like here in the city, like we're in Plymouth right now. Like the amount of calls these guys are getting have got to be drastically.
Well, yeah.
Least
if you're working in North Minneapolis and you're first responding to everything too,
right.
And there's just a lot more people up there who are using the 911 service as their primary care provider,
right.
You know, and that sucks. I'm not dogging on them for it. If you don't got health insurance and you can get seen at the ER, your only option is to get seen at the ER. Fucking do you?
You got to do it.
I don't really think you need to call an ambulance. You can take an Uber, ride a bike, but
wait for the bus.
Yeah, something like that. It is a bit reckless to be using. Most cities,
firefighter is cheaper than a regular ambulance, though. That's right, isn't it?
No, usually if the fire department, most.
I mean, they don't get billed, right? Do you get billed for that?
Yeah, most big cities, the fire department and the ambulance service are the same. Okay. So if you look at like New York City ambulance, they'll say FDNY.
Okay.
On it. Chicago, same thing.
None of their hospitals have their own.
No, there are. Like Rochester has Gold Cross, and I think St. Cloud has Gold Cross as their ambulance service. Okay. Minneapolis has HCMC, I think, is there. But yeah, there's the majority of cities. I think, like if you were like Denver, Chicago, they all use the fire service as their ambulance providers, and it makes sense. You're going to hazmat things with both. You're going to jumpers, suicides with both. You know, why not just make it the same crew?
Is there anything that you guys that they call 911 for that you guys don't respond to? I guess like domestic violence things, unless there's somebody hurt.
Here's the fucking
whenever that 911 gets a call for cops, it seems like you guys go to almost everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's 911 calls like, you know, break in or whatever, strictly police matters,
right?
And you know, but there's
That's why when I break in a house, I always start a fire because I want to keep you guys going.
Thanks for the business, bro. It's weird. I get why, but I kind of don't get why. If you call 911, it's an emergent situation, no matter what you're asking for, right?
Well, maybe they just assume that, you know, since the cops are going to be there, somebody's going to get shot.
But that's the thing. The cops can. That's what I'm getting to. Cops can pick and choose when they respond to a call.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, right. Everybody knows that. Everyone fucking knows that.
Yeah.
We get a call for something like, oh, somebody's having too much fun at their campfire in their backyard. They're burning wet leaves or some bullshit, right? We still have to go. You can't just go look at the call and go, you know what, I'm going to slack off on this one and get there when I get there, and maybe it'll all resolve itself by the time I get there. Like cops do. It's fucking crazy. And then you know after 15 years, like, okay, this is some neighbors having a fight with each other, and I don't want to fucking get involved in this shit.
Right.
You know, or you can't take any call less seriously than the next call, but cops get to. So we respond to everything if they're asked for. We've responded to my sink won't stop running.
Really?
Yeah. We do a lot of I fell out of bed, put me back in.
Is this old people? Or what's the...
Sometimes. We had this fucking guy. This guy. So, he's obviously... He needs a caretaker. His body doesn't work real well, and I think his life has been so fucking weird because of that.
Okay.
He's one of the most odd people I've ever met. First time I ever went to see him is he got rolled by some prostitutes. So we walk
I hate
in
it when
there.
that happens.
I fucking felt so bad for the guy, you know? I mean, I've always thought, man, if you're on the bad end of the spectrum, you know, like nobody's going to organically fuck you.
I like that.
Go with a hoe. You keep her in business. She gives you a little thing. If she's down for it, you know.
Then you run into the unethical hoes, the ones that roll you.
Because it's not legal.
That's what it does.
And so this guy's laying on the floor crying naked with the tiniest dick I have ever
How old is this guy?
Probably 40.
God.
I don't know. It's hard to tell with his like.
This is why so many dudes kill themselves. This story right here.
I mean, like, it wasn't like there's you got a small dick, but I bet somebody loves you anyways. Yeah. But then there's like
Not for your dick though.
Yeah.
They don't love you for your tiny dick.
But they don't
you.
hate you because that's like this guy's dick was so small, it's a dysfunction. Like, oh man, you should get handicap parking because of that shit and everything. You know, like that sucks.
Which makes it even worse that the prostitute would roll him because look at how little work you have to do.
Exactly.
You're already coming out ahead in this.
It'd be like if you asked a plumber to come over and they saw a handle on your toilet and they killed you. So yeah, they rolled him and I felt bad for him, you know, this fucking guy, poor thing or whatever.
So what they want you to do though?
He wanted us to, well, that one was to check up on him, make sure he would, you know, if you want to go to the hospital and, you know, hit him in the hospital. But all he wanted to do was get put back into bed because he can't walk or anything like that.
Oh, that's okay.
So yeah, he was, you know, it was almost like, I don't want to misdiagnose him, but maybe like MS or something like that, you know?
Oh, okay.
But he,
did you guys jerk him off just to?
Well, yeah.
Okay, of course.
So the thing is, I'm like, oh, okay.
I would call the fire department constantly.
Well, that's what started happening. Is he found out there's a couple females
I pay my taxes for
who would respond on certain days.
Ah.
So he started taking all his clothes off and falling out of bed.
This guy is brilliant.
So they would come over there and girls would touch him while he's naked and tuck him into bed. One day he called and must have the schedule mixed up because 4 dudes showed up. And me being one of them, like, oh, you again. And then I'd heard about this guy, what he's doing at this time, and I lost all sympathy for him.
Right.
And we go, and I'm still going to I'm going to fucking bite down on my mouthpiece, and I'm just going to go in there and fucking
Glad you said
whatever,
mouthpiece.
tuck him into bed or whatever the fuck he wants, and get out of here. So we go in there, and he's just laying on the floor again. He goes, can you guys tuck me back into bed? Go, yeah, okay. Where's your caretaker?
This is Louie Anderson? You sound... It sounds like Louie.
He actually does sound like Louie Anderson. Imagine a weaker Louie Anderson. Like if you didn't have the size of his body enough, he was like 5'4". Like,
okay, gotcha.
So he goes, can you guys tuck me back into bed? And we go, well, what happened? Where's your caretaker? You know, what's going on? And then the phone rings. And he goes, and the only person who calls the guy is his caretaker.
Right.
And it goes to voicemail, and the voicemail picks up and goes, hey, did you fall out of bed again? I got a call saying that you called 911. And he goes, don't listen to him. He left me here like this. So we pick up the phone and say, of course we're going to challenge this.
Right.
Did you leave him like this? No, I just left there, and he took off all his clothes and rolled out of bed again, didn't he? Yeah. He goes, I have talked to him over and over again. He can't do this. So now we're realizing he's just pulling a game. He's playing a game. And it's 1 a.m. Fuck you, dude. So we
putting other people's lives at risk.
Put him back into bed anyways, because you can't leave a motherfucker lay on the floor, right? It's just inhumane. So we put him back in his bed, toss him in there. I mean, we weren't gonna tuck him in, and we just sat him on the bed and see you, dude.
Right.
And he goes, "Can you dress me?" No. Why? You going somewhere?
Right.
And you go, no. And he goes, well, can you bring me my remote and my magazines and a glass of water or something? No, dude.
Now, at any point, can you say no to this stuff? Or what?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Once they're not in any imminent danger, and especially when they have a caretaker who will come to them and take care of them. So.
What's the house look like? Is it gross? Is it nasty?
No, because the caretaker cleans up.
Fair enough. Yeah.
He did have one of those giant Comcast modems that you pay like whatever rip-off fee you pay for every month, and immediately I went, that guy's a dumbass.
Clearly.
But, you know, he's gaming the system and he's being a perv to the female firefighters. And he kept calling every day. And it eventually became to the point, like, you know, all the sympathy's gone and you're a piece of shit.
So at what point does that become criminal?
So it doesn't. Because you can't, because he always has a reason why he feels is legitimate.
Okay.
If you called every day saying you think ghosts are in your house and you want somebody to come check it out. And,
Wait a minute.
And they hurt
Have you ever got a come check out my ghost call?
Woo, buddy.
All
I
right.
think come check out my ghost story.
Forget the old guy who needs to be jerked off. Tell me the ghost story.
So yeah, that story's about done anyways. You get it. I don't like this guy calls. This is the fucking, I forgot all about this. Remember I said there's a log jam of stories?
Right.
15 years is a lot. This guy calls, and I'm not being racist. He was straight new to the country from Africa.
Okay.
So, and everyone in your mind right now has that voice. So when I do it, don't be like, well, that's fucked up. You think all people from Africa sound like that? Not you, but, you know, people listening.
Right.
Because you're doing it in your head. So
and just so the listener knows, it's not a white guy I'm talking to. So whatever credibility or freedom of racism you want to give somebody who's a minority, this firefighter has it.
So I go, we walk in there, and what's the problem? He goes, you have to see this. You have to see this. And he starts pointing to his dick. And he goes, so much pain, so much pain. We go, what happened? They cut the tip off. They cut the tip off your dick, bro? And he goes, when I was a baby, they cut the tip off. And incredible pain. Right now, it hurts right now. 30 years ago, you got a circumcision, and now it hurts. And he goes, do you want to see it?
It's like that phantom limb syndrome. You know, when you get your arm cut off, you think it's still there.
The fucking foreskin, phantom foreskin. That's my favorite superhero, by the way, phantom foreskin. So he goes, do you want to see this? And we go, no. And
I'd have to say, yeah. I want to see an African dick.
I can't see the pain in your dick. And trust me, I've been on the internet. I've seen plenty of black dicks. So I go, we're like, no, we don't see your dick. And he goes, you called because your dick hurts? He goes, yes. Someone has put a curse on me. And now I have ghosts in my body.
Focus on
Back the fucking train up. Somebody cut off the tip of your dick when you're a baby, and now you have ghosts in your body? How are these two things related together? Before I could get in the answer, the captain of the crew goes, we're fucking out of here. Let's go.
So no resolution? No, you didn't bust his ghost?
I was just like, I was too new at the time. I was brand new. I was like,
okay.
This is a fucking thing. And then, I had a lady one time who goes, we were in the back of an ambulance, and she goes, so I don't want to tell anybody this, but I have to let someone know that I'm being followed. And I go, by who? And she goes, the CIA. And I go, oh, hell yeah. And I go, you know,
that's my mom?
Maybe. I don't know your mom. So she goes, don't judge me. And I was like, and you're not supposed to play into psychiatric people. And I'm also only with you for 3 minutes. I don't think, how much harm can I do?
Well, you got to figure out if she might not be a psychiatric issue. And maybe a real legit thing.
So I go, yeah, I've heard about that. What's happening? And she says,
doesn't she know you get paid by the government? I mean, doesn't she understand that?
She goes, I have ghosts following me. And I go, like CIA operative ghosts, like they
spooks.
were so low key, whatever. She goes, no, actual spirits that the CIA employs to follow people because they can't be seen and they can't be felt and they can't be noticed. But once they've tapped into you, you can feel them.
Holy shit!
And I was like, you know how much I want this to be true? That the CIA has ghost operatives.
You and me both. Holy shit.
Dude, yeah. So you get people who think there's ghosts all the time. Like, and they call and I hear something. And you're like, okay, how long are we going to spend before we realize this is either a possum living in your basement or a ghost or something like that, you know?
Well, what's the most mental related call that you went to as far as...
That's impossible to say because there's so many.
There's just so many of them, right?
Like, you're on the farthest end of crazy as you can get.
So from the perspective of a firefighter and a city kind of like our size here in the Twin Cities area, what's the amount of mental health issue type calls that you would go to on average?
Again, like
how bad is the problem?
Your location, you know, if you're like in a downtown area or near a homeless shelter, it's all day.
Okay.
When K2 was going around, it was so many like this person is just freaking the fuck out and nobody knows why. Running down the street naked, pulling off their clothes. We had a guy in the front of the fire station just tear off all his clothes, and I go outside. I go, "Hey man, you on K2?" And he goes, I found a joint on the ground. I smoked it. And I go, no, you didn't.
Right.
You were smoking K2. And I go, I don't care, man. I just want to understand why you're naked in downtown. And he goes, I don't know either. And I'm like, all right, well, let's sit you down and let's get your clothes back on. You're high on K2. And I actually had a reasonable conversation with him. Then he ran away.
Right. Young kid?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, young kid. But, and you're already, if you're living in a homeless shelter, you probably already have some mental health issues, Not a lot of people are like, oh, it fucking looks pretty easy to be homeless. I'm going to go do that instead, So.
Right.
And then the K2 gets sold in there, and you get that adds to the drug psychosis, that goes into it and everything like that. So you get a lot of whether it's drug induced or they're actually crazy, you get a lot of people. But what it really leans to, what scares me the most, is how many moderately crazy people there are out there. You go into their homes and you kind of just look around and you're like, yeah, you're just off enough where you can hide it. And now, granted, I hang out with all types of crazy people. Yeah. I love crazy, but there's a point where you're like, oh, that's threatening.
Like if you came into the studio, you didn't know who I was. What would be your impression?
Your
9/11 paraphernalia.
You're distrusting of the government. You have an appreciation for art, and you understand that someday you might have to be a fish on your own.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
It's not like that. It's just like you see hints and like there's a house we went into.
Okay.
Because the grandma wasn't doing so hot. And you're like, okay,
She called her?
No, the family called or whatever. Normal call, right? Until you open the door. Once you walked in the door, first thing I saw was on the floor was a spatula with some shit on it. But it was all fuzzy. Right?
Like mold?
Yeah, that fuzzy mold that food gets, all over the spatula.
Just sitting on the floor.
And I'm thinking, how many times did you step over this thing where you couldn't be bothered to pick it up?
Right.
And as I'm looking at that, I'm like, the smell is atrocious in here. And I look to my left, and I hear cages rattling. There is 4 feet of rabbit cages stacked on top of each other that laps the whole living room of the house.
Holy shit.
Windows are all, they have the bed sheets tacked over them and everything so you can't see inside. The rabbits are shitting on each other. The place is disgusting. We walk back to where the grandma's supposed to be, bunk beds. She's on the top bunk of a bunk bed. No, she's on the bottom bunk of the bunk bed, and there's a little girl's bed on top of the bunk bed. And the little girl we saw, she's like 6. And the grandma's just laying there, and she's going, just this, almost like death rattle. And I go, okay, so she's having a problem breathing, right? And they go, that's pretty normal for how she breathes. So this little kid, every night, hears a
slowly dying old person.
Yeah. The haunting sounds of a dying old person every night.
It's going to be a fucking biohazard living in there with...
Everything's wrong in the spot. So that's why I'm like, but they have
She has any kind of respiratory issue, then she's breathing in all kinds of bacteria from the rabbit shit. And
you're obviously insane if you're having 4 feet of rabbit cages and they're all shitting on each other.
Who's running the house? Is it the grandma's house? Or
no,
who's
it's
the head
the parents.
of
The parents are running the house.
Okay.
And they're just shitty people. Like, you can't pick up
the fucking spatula.
Yeah, on the floor, and there's food all mashed in the ground. The place has never been clean. You're like, okay, but you have cars in the driveway and you pay for a place. You have a job. And outside society, if I was to see them outside, I would never think twice.
Right.
But once you go into somebody's home and you see how they are, firefighters and medics, and maybe cops, I don't really talk to a lot of cops, but maybe cops wash their hands more than most people. Sometimes obsessively, but definitely okay, I know how people live and I know how gross they are. And then they grab the shopping carts that handles, and then I do too. And I'm like, oh, the fucking rabbit family just held on here.
Ooh, I don't ever think about that. Shopping carts.
Shopping carts, door, all the...
they do have some of have the things that you can wipe them down, but I never do that.
I just go and get my shit, and then I wash my hands afterwards.
I just wipe it off with my dick. I pull my dick out, just wipe the handle.
And that's why I just grab it raw, because I want to feel that energy, the big dick energy coming through.
That's not mine. Mine's medium dick energy.
It's all good.
It's like warm.
Yeah, some days you don't want a full meal.
It's like an electric blanket.
Electric.
Just warms you up.
That's the first time anyone's ever described their dick as an electric blanket.
That's about where I am.
Copyright that shit. So, let's see. You want to talk about other crazy people? There's a whole family that used to call us all the time that were obviously inbred.
Okay.
I had the hint of
How is obviously? What do you mean is...
Deliverance? Mm-hmm. Like, not even an exaggeration from that. Like, everybody looks very similar and unhealthy. Like, the shitty losers kept fucking each other and making the same family.
Trying to make the master race of shitty people.
Yeah, and we had one guy, he called, those sliding closet doors?
Uh-huh.
He unhinged it and laid it on his back and then called us saying it fell on him. And we lifted it up with, one finger. It doesn't weigh anything. They're 4 pounds.
What was his motive? What was he?
Go to the hospital, get some food. I don't know, get the attention. They're weird. I mean, that's the thing. You can't put a logical reason behind it, but they call all the time.
Well, so you've been doing it for 15 years. I'm sure there's some ongoing training going on. How has the mental health aspect, have they given you additional training, new training? Have they implemented new things as this becomes a more critical issue? And it's something that cops are now having to look at now is, dealing with how to respond to people, even though they don't seem to be doing very well because they shoot a lot of manic people or people dealing with mental health crisis.
I'm not going to say no, because there's definitely a large push in like how to deal with kids who are on the spectrum, Asperger's and autism and stuff like that, and how to give medications that calm people down who are having a severe reaction. One day, I walked in. We had a kid. She was 16 or 17 or whatever the call was, and she was going berserk, and she was autistic, and she'd just been triggered, and she was losing it. So I'm walking behind these two cops, and the one's old, and out of shape, and just like, you're not beating up anybody. What is this guy walking in front of me for? And then
to take the bullet. That's what he's.
But it's a 17-year-old girl. I'm like, I think I can handle this way before you can, for sure.
Right.
And then I'm looking at his partner. Oh, he's young, but he's scrawny, and he's like a cop that doesn't work out. Which is, what are you doing here, buddy?
Right.
And so we walk in, and the girl has her grandma up against the wall, like the fucking Kane from the WWE choke slam hold, but she pinned her against the wall. And the grandma's up on her tippy toes, and she can't breathe. And we go, whoa, and they grab her. The cops grab her, and it was the young cop, and she turned around and fucking pushed him. And he flew over the bed and did like a backward somersault.
Wow.
The old cop walks out of the room. He was like, no. He doesn't. I don't know what's going through his head. Maybe he didn't know how to handle a situation of a girl who's doing. And look,
he didn't worry about his partner, grabbing his partner and helping him up or anything.
2 days to retirement. Who fucking knows what he's doing? But he just stood there like doing nothing, kind of backed up a little bit. Right. And I'm watching all this shit go down. I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I fucking thought was gonna happen. And the girl is probably about 220.
Okay.
Maybe 5'10", 220.
She's thick.
She's strong enough to lift her fucking grandma off her tippy toes, So I'm like, Jesus Christ. But you can't just fucking punch her, and you can't, like do anything too aggressive. So I'm like, well, there's the bed. And so I kind of double-legged her and then scooped her up and just as gently as you can, in that situation, let her onto the bed. And then she rolled off the bed and onto the floor, and she started screaming and crying, whatever like that, and the cops go and put the cuffs on her and everything like that. And it's like, why weren't you the guys doing this?
Right.
What the fuck are you here for? What do you do on your days off? Or what's your training involved that you don't know how to fight back against people, It really made me like, ugh. And so they got more training on how to deal with that kind of thing, and so did we, but it's like, everything's wrong. Everything's wrong, and there's so much to do to fix it, Like, I think grappling lessons should be taught to cops twice a week, because you have to know how to controlled subdue somebody with doing the minimum amount of damage.
And how about some health and physical standards? I mean,
yeah.
Isn't that?
I've heard the pushback from cops that say, I said, yeah, all cops should do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Well, what if a guy physically can't, or they're unable, or it hurts them to do it, or they
then you
get
shouldn't
injured?
be on patrol.
Then you shouldn't be a fucking cop.
Well, be a cop, but you only in the aspects of like filing
supporting
shit.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Go work for the city water department or something like that, or go do fire code inspection. Do something else.
Right.
But you're not supposed to be a cop. If you can't handle twice a week of jiu-jitsu, like there's 40-year-old moms who do that shit every night, and you tell me that cops can't be held to that standard.
Right.
So
I don't know requirement for jiu-jitsu specifically. It's hard to say. But at least a physical standard to be able to lift X amount of weight, be able to run X amount of distance, like a military standard kind of.
But once you get past that, you cause a lot more harm and a lot more firearm draws.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the confidence of how to safely and calmly subdue somebody.
Right.
So I know we're going to get into this later, but this leans into it. The fight, one of the fights I got into at work is this guy. He got smashed over the head with a Yoo-hoo bottle. He didn't want to go to the hospital. He was 17, but he's like, he's a grown fucking 17-year-old.
Right.
And he's telling us to go fuck ourselves. And I go, well, it's either with us or the cops that you go to the hospital. Do yourself a favor and go with us, because I'm going to be cool the whole time. I just want you to get seen and make sure you're doing okay. And then your parents, whoever your guardian is, going to have to pick you up. But it's a lot better than going to the cops and asking them, they're grilling you about, why are you in this fight? Who do you know? And whatever
they're just going to
else.
look for an excuse to take you to jail. So.
And he's like, yeah, okay. And I was like, and then there was just a big fight. And then he wanted his friend to come with him. His friend's worked the fuck up. And I go, no, your friend's not coming with us. And our partner goes, no, come on. And I didn't want to make a scene. So I'm like, all right, we'll just fucking deal with this. We get to the hospital. His friend goes, man, let's get the fuck out of here. And he goes, well, how are we going to do it? I was like, and I started telling him, let's not even talk about that. And the guy goes, like, nods at me. And the kid jumped off the cot and elbowed me right in the fucking face. And I took it back and then reached over and grabbed him around the waist.
Which is a ballsy move because people who can't see you right now, you're a physical specimen.
Well, thank you.
You look like I don't want to identify your race, but you get a very Rogan-esque build.
Oh, thanks. It's a bald head.
Right.
So I grabbed the guy by the waist. I pull myself into him, and I fucking suplexed him.
Right.
But in the middle of the toss, I was like, this kid's going to come down this fucking head, and I'm going to kill somebody, and it's not going to be justified. So I turned and dumped him like you would in like a folk-style wrestling meet.
Right.
And I turn and dump him, and he goes on his shoulder, and he dislocates his shoulder.
Nice.
But that's the minimal amount of force that, I mean, maybe not a suplex wasn't needed, but with the momentum that was going into it, it was what happened.
Well,
but
let me ask you about that then. What are the limitations in defending yourself as a fireman? I mean,
same as any human. If you're any American citizen, if you're defending yourself and you do it to a needed point, and then the courts will decide if you went beyond that.
Okay.
But, I mean, somebody pulls a gun on you or makes you even feel like they're going to jump you.
Can you hit them with your fucking axe, like right in the head? Can you do that?
No.
Okay.
But, I mean, maybe if they had another axe or a gun or something, yeah.
Right.
But the other day, there's a group of 3 or 4 people, and they were drawing the attention under a bridge. And as we walked in there, one of the crew members noticed there was a very large, fresh out of prison, that prison body guy behind us, starting to move in.
Okay.
And everybody just, who the fuck is that guy, and what's he doing over there?
Right.
Oh, don't worry about him. Nope, we're out of here. Whatever you called for is done because you put us in a threatening spot. You drew us into a dark place that looks like a place where you'd want to jump somebody.
What was the reason for the call again?
Somebody had a bellyache. Somebody had a stomachache.
That sounds sketchy.
Yeah, so it's like the whole thing doesn't add up. We're gonna leave until the
What
police
are they going to do to a fire? What are they going to get? They want to steal a fire truck?
You keep going back to logical thinking.
Right.
These are drug addicts. People have been molested as kids. People have been abandoned.
You know who carries lots of money? Firemen. They got money on them all the time. Call them.
Maybe they had a bad run-in once, or they, whatever. They just they think like, yeah, we could steal their fire truck. Who fucking knows? You know the story about the onion patch in California, right?
No.
With the meth heads kidnapped those cops.
No.
Oh, you got to read the book. It's the Onion Fields, I think it's called, or something like that. It's about these 2 cops who got picked up outside of L.A. that they got caught off guard and jumped.
Okay.
And the meth heads ended up taking them to this onion field and torturing them, trying to get information out of them. Because they thought that these guys, because they worked for the government, had all these secrets that they knew. And yeah, it's really gross. And then one guy ran away as his partner was being murdered, and the book goes into like how the guilt he feels and everything like that, and like what was he?
I do got to check that out.
Yeah, it's an intense read, but. So you don't want to get yourself in a situation like that. But you also need to learn how to defend yourself. It's not the only time. People get in fights all the time because you're dealing with mentally unstable people. But you can't just blast them in the face. Right. I don't think so. You can't beat them up because they're not. If they could have a choice, they wouldn't be that way.
Right.
And they're reacting like if your dog was to bite you, and you're going to be like, fucking punch him in the mouth. You're going to take the minimal amount of force necessary to make it stop and then correct the situation.
You ever have, either you or a fireman that you work with, firefighter that you work with, you ever have like a complaint filed against you?
Oh, all the time.
Really?
All the time.
Tell me what are the common ones and how do you guys deal with that?
I can tell you the ones I've had complaint on me. I've had a complaint filed against me. The best one I had was a guy was walking behind a fire truck that was backing up, and I go, dude, don't. And he kept walking anyways. And the truck, it was inches away from him. And I grabbed him and I pulled him.
Right.
And he goes, don't touch me. And I go, you'd be dead if I didn't touch you. He goes, I'd be fine. And I go, don't get cocky. I go, just don't do that shit. I'm not asking for praise or anything. Just don't fucking do that shit.
Did he not realize it?
And he was going super slow. And I go, it doesn't matter. If that thing touches you going a quarter of a mile an hour, it weighs fucking tens of thousands of pounds or whatever.
You're not going to bounce off of it. You're going to go under it.
That amount of weight with a minimal amount of force is going to fucking bust your knee at least and probably drive you under it.
Right.
And he starts getting all mad or whatever. I go, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of my face and get the fuck out of here and don't ever fucking walk near a fire truck again. And He goes about like an hour later, he comes back and there's a doorbell rings, and I go, "Oh God, it's you." And he goes, "Oh, okay, well, I had something to say to you." And I go, "I got some fucking things to say to you too." And then the whole station comes into the room because they hear me yelling at this guy.
Right.
And he wanted to file a complaint or whatever. And then our whole crew was like, "Yeah, you can't. He did the right thing. That's exactly what he's there for, is for people like you. Oh, you're just going to all back each other up now because you're friends. How do you have such little accountability for yourself?"
Right.
Anyways, and it's mostly shit like that. Like, they didn't get the pampering they felt they deserved from us. I had a guy.
Which is hard to do, because anytime you're interacting with a firefighter, pardon me, I don't want to get fucking anybody mad at me.
I call myself a fireman.
Fire people.
Yeah.
The people of the firefighting, whatever. Whenever you guys are dealing with somebody, your intent is to show up there to help. Mm-hmm. You know?
I've said that so many times. You know we're here to help, right? You called us to help you.
Right.
And so yeah, they may not get the pampering they wanted, or they didn't get the... I had a guy, we pulled him out of a fire. Me and another guy pulled this guy out of a fire. Unfortunately, when we got there, his pit bull was already dead. And unfortunately, big picture, you know, it sucks. Beautiful dog, his best friend.
But a pit bull scared to death of fire is not something you want to deal with.
As I'm pulling his owner out, it's probably going to attack us, right? Exactly. So I'm like, that's a tough spot if you got a body in there and a pit bull sitting next to it. What do you do? But the pit bull's already dead, and I didn't even see him until I touched his body, and I was like, I think we got a body. Put the thermal injury over it. Oh, it's a dog, and it's dead. And so we keep moving around the room, find the guy between his bed and his dresser, pull him out, and the whole house is on fire because the back of his yard was all just shade tree mechanic shop with these acetylene torches set up and everything. When we went there, it sounded like when I was in Iraq, because there's all these aerosol
canisters blowing up
and flying across the street. And like, what the fuck? So we go in there. We had to take a ladder up to the second floor. Go in and take the guy out. Big fucking thing. They get the news story. They get the news there, and later on, they got him after he was out of the hospital and brought him in for a thing in the news. And there's a kid who called us in and like pointed us to the victim, and he got a big, award from the city or whatever, some write up, and the news says, "Oh, this is the guy that rescued you. Here's the Here's the guy who you saved. Do you guys want to talk and we can, get this on camera?" And the guy goes, "No." It's like, okay,
right.
I'm cool with that too. I'm not in this for the fucking glory at all. I'm
right.
in this for the rush and to help people. Honestly, right. I
think helping somebody else would be part of the adrenaline rush, right? Isn't there?
It's the thing of, I'm willing to lose a lot to try and help you,
right.
And it comes from a bad place in my life. So I watched a friend get hit by a car and died, and slowly. And I just stood there like, as waiting for medics to arrive, like, well, I wish I could do something. I wish I knew CPR. I wish I could do something.
Wow.
So that's what drove me into this career field. But so then we go to, he doesn't want to, I'm like, that's fine. Whatever. Found out the reason is because we didn't save his dog.
The dog was dead when he got there, right?
And the dog was dead when he got there. And you know what? It's impossible to save a pit bull from a fire short of opening the door and letting him run outside.
Yeah, animals freak the fuck out, regardless if it's pit bull or not.
Yeah. If it's a Yorkie, you got gloves on, you can deal with it. But a pit bull's and I'm not blaming the dog. It's a panic state, and a German Shepherd would be the same way. Any dog over 50 pounds is going to, or over really 30 pounds, is probably going to be like, I don't know, man. And they're in that state.
Right. Do you have any bad alive dog stories? Any kind of experiences with dogs or animals in general that were
good ones?
Okay.
We got CPR masks on the rigs for dogs.
Okay. So specific for dogs.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah, and cats.
Okay.
So that's cool. We got that. There are a couple times you open the door to a house fire and the dog will come running out, or cool shit like that. Like the dogs are concerned about the owners and stuff like that.
Right.
And if you get them out, the dogs will follow or whatever. There are cool stories like that, but nothing. I don't know anyone who's been attacked by a dog. I don't know. I haven't heard any bad. I'm sure they're out there, but it's probably minimal.
You guys got nice thick, your fire retardant thing. That's going to be good for at least preventing.
Triple layers, yeah, and it is made to be
puncture resistant.
Yeah, puncture resistant. So that's good stuff. But
weirdest animal you've ever seen most uncommon animal you've seen when responding to somebody's home.
God, I don't think
anybody have an alligator in the bathtub or anything like that.
No, I don't. You
right? Just got snakes.
No, I don't think I've seen anything that was like, you can't have that. Fucking koala.
Why is the zebra in here?
A koala bear watching TV.
You're gonna get that call next. That's gonna be the thing. Let's talk a little bit about, because you kind of hinted on a little bit about like why you got into it and kind of deal. So and that's kind of the cliche outside looking in look that a lot of people probably have is, well, these adrenaline junkies. How true is that?
Very fucking true.
It is very true.
It's the truest, most trustworthy, in my opinion, it's the most trustworthy firefighters that you're going to get are the ones who could have also been part of a motorcycle club, the Crips, MMA fighters, any kind of comics, whatever kind of, if they lean to wildness,
Okay.
they're almost not a functioning member of society. But they are just enough in that cultured zone that they understand the worthiness of helping others and, you got to show up to work on time and shit like that. That's who I like. The guys who, if you could really dig into their history and what they've been doing on their days off, they'd probably get fired.
Right.
Those guys are unquestionably...
They thrive in chaos.
Mm-hmm. That's when they calm down. That's when that's when they're getting fed their dopamine rush. Me too.
Right.
And that's when everything slows down and your ADHD goes away.
God, you're right.
All your other thoughts go away and you're just in it.
Right.
And sometimes that's tunnel vision, but sometimes there's times when you look around and you just look at the rolling flames over the ceiling and the glowingness of some metal and you're just like, this is fucking crazy. This is awesome. I'm fine. There's a lot of cocky firefighters, and I really believe because you fuck with death enough times and just don't even feel threatened.
So, what is your personal mentality? So, like, you're in a dangerous situation. How and for the listener, to know you've got a beautiful wife and a kid at home, right? You want to go home to, but how is that thinking process for you? How do you even recognize that I might die in this situation right here?
Every day, day off, day on. Whenever I see, I'm not trying to sound cliche or fucking Tommy Tough Guy over here.
Right.
Every day I think some kind of thought. The most common thought is, there's a chance I go to work, I die, and my kid now is old enough that I'll always remember me. But for the first decade, you're like, I could die and have very little memory in that brain.
Right.
How much do you remember when you were 8? 6
Very
years
little.
old, And you'll always be a hero in their mind, but you won't have an impression in their mind. And you're like, that would suck. But you know what? Never in a fire. I've never had that. Those thoughts just don't show up in your head. Because, again, with wild people, you're a comic. When you're on stage, are you thinking about your family and all these risks to reward, and all this stuff? No, you just got a job to do, and you're in the rush of it.
Right.
Would
you ever have a conversation, especially now that your daughter is old enough to understand these kind of things? Have you guys all sat down together and talked about that?
I won't put that thought in their head.
Okay.
As far as they knew, I'm never in danger. I'm never in a tough spot. When I was in Iraq before I had my kid, and my wife and I were together at that time, I never told her anything that was happening. It's just another boring day, whatever. There's no reason to make somebody worry that they don't need to, especially a kid. They don't understand that the likelihood is minimal, that it doesn't happen very often. It could any day, though. It's not necessary. Okay. At some point, she might get it. She might not. I don't give a fuck.
Have you ever had any kind of substantial injury at all, or?
Yeah, I've had. I mean, I've
put you out of work for a little bit or anything?
Blown out an SI joint last year. I mean, there's been rolling ankles, things like that put you out. I mean, some burns and stuff like that, but nothing too significant.
What about the scariest fire situation? Any, like, temporarily you were trapped or anything like that?
That house fire right there with that mechanic shit. After we got the guy out and we were still fighting the fire, I realized I was surrounded by acetylene canisters. Like
Jesus.
Big, like ones that are tall as you and I,
Right.
I was like, fuck, what's the threshold on these things? What's the Blevy level on these things, Blevy is boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion, so it's like...
Where those things become from acetylene torches to bombs at that point. Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, but I'm not going to sit here and not put out this fire.
Right.
It's not going to put itself out. So you keep going, God,
the flex from the water hitting those things if they were superheated and at that point.
They have a safety, so they start
they blow off pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
They're supposed to. Sometimes they don't.
Right.
There was a car that blew up on 94 because it wasn't off-gassing right, and it happens. But what's one of the scariest things is fighting fire in the winter. Mm-hmm. Because you go from extreme heat to extreme cold and back and forth over and over again, and all that water turns everything. The whole block is an ice rink. And the temperatures, you're outside, exposed to those temperatures. A few years ago, we went out and fought a fire, and I was in a ladder with the aerial up, and I was up in that bucket, pointing down, blasting, but all that mist from the wind and everything's blowing you. So I'm getting rained on, and I think it was -10 or so, -15 plus wind chill, and you're way up high. And we stood out there for 3 or 4 hours doing that, and I remember feeling my body going numb from the feet up. And I was standing there like, well, until the fire's out, I don't really have a fucking option.
Right. I was going to ask, is there, especially here in the climate that we live in, do they give you special equipment for the wintertime that has heating sources to it or anything? Or is
No, they bring out like buses.
Okay.
And they'll like let you warm up in the bus and stuff like that, you know?
Okay. What is the, kind of sticking with the fireman personalities, what is the washout rate of people who make it, who get through all the physical training and that's the, the controlled situations and who get into the situations like working fires in the extreme winter or dangerous situations? What's the washout rate there? And
the benefits and the hours of the job are so good.
Okay.
You don't really see a washout. You see people quit if they get a job at a better paying job that's a corporate job or whatever, You'll see them more and more. We're seeing this newer generation jumps out of this job and into another more lucrative job rather much more quickly. I think in the first 10 years, I saw one person quit the job. In the last 5, I've probably seen.
Can you give me a ballpark range of what yearly income is for the average firefighter in a city like this?
Oh, in this area, starting out probably in your $50,000 range, and then without promotions, you probably cap out around, without overtime, 90, 100,000.
Okay.
It's a good paying job. It's a really good paying job, especially since you need a high school diploma and like a few college courses, not even a degree.
Right.
And so yeah, that personality, going back to the whole thing. So these same guys, the same guy who I almost froze to death with, right? We're standing there looking at a transformer on a telephone pole.
Optimus Prime, or was it a Decepticon?
No, it was one of the Decepticons. So we weren't
cool.
trying to help him. So we're standing there looking at this, our whole crew, there's 4 of us, and we're looking at this thing, and it's got these little, like, the full pole's kind of glowing. It's got these little, like, Christmas light things looking inside, and the transformer's going, wah, wah, wah,
It's getting ready to blow.
And we go, and all of us look at it and go, look at those fucking cool sparkles. Boom! As we're talking about sparkles in a telephone pole, it fucking explodes. It was the brightest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, we were all blinded and running in a blind chaos to get away from things. You heard the wires whipping around you. Zoo, zoo, zoo. And I just ducked my head and fucking ran.
Right.
I ran. When I could see again, I was in the street. Another guy was almost in the highway, but luckily he had a retaining wall that stopped him.
Right.
Another guy was in the corner of a fence and couldn't figure out how to get out.
Jesus.
And we're all blind. And then we started yelling to each other.
And those wires are swinging around, are still live wire. Holy shit.
So we finally get around, the wires have all calmed down, we can see again, and we get ourselves removed, and we get to a safe spot, and our rig is covered with live wires.
Really?
So we got to wait for the power company to come make sure this is all grounded and all dead. And the guy gets out there and he goes, yeah, well, so what happened? We told him about the sparkles. This is crazy. If you, in the spring, as the water from the streets evaporates, it rises up into the air, but has a little bit of salt in it. The salt gets into the telephone poles and then react. And then when it gets wet again, it reacts as a conductor, as a superconductor to the transformer. And if the transformer has any kind of leaks or variables going on, they can explode. The telephone poles will catch fire. Just because that's what happened ultimately. The telephone pole caught fire from the reaction, started a little fire next to the transformer, heat up the transformer until the transformer exploded.
What's inside those transformers? That
loudness.
Is there? I mean, is there like there's like an oil or something in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that acts as a fuel. I think it's more of a.
Assuming it can't help.
Right.
So the guy goes, "Yeah, this will happen. Poles will catch fire. They'll blow up. It'll happen." And he's like, "Usually there's not guys standing right under when it happens." I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is something we're just overlooking.
That's crazy when you think about it. That you just, all throughout your city, there's just bombs everywhere waiting to go.
So and that was that. But you know what? Back to the wildness of these guys, it didn't phase us. By the time when we were waiting for XL, we were already making fun of each other as soon as we could see again. Like, oh man, you looked like a fucking, one guy was Hispanic, and there was jokes made about him not being able to jump the wall, and he was making jokes about this other guy's a fucking redneck, and how does, and then you're all just back to busting chops, giving each other shit, and just laughing at this fucking situation you just survived from. The more closer you got to death, the more like, oh, how cool is that? Like little kids, you know?
Well, let's talk about that then, because the modern firehouse, like I guess many years ago, it was a very white dominated type job.
Many years ago.
No,
A couple of years ago.
really? I can remember
The first,
like 80s singing black firefighters. It
Yep.
was very uncommon. I
right,
thought,
but that's the thing. And so you had still all white firehouses. You had cities that had no black firefighters. I mean, it wasn't common enough to be a thing yet, you know?
Was that
And
because there was a group of white firefighters keeping other ones out, or what was the reason or
I
rationale?
have no idea. I
Okay.
have no idea, honestly. I mean, it could be anything from cultural exposure to wanting to get on the job, to racism keeping them off the job,
Right.
to requirements need to get on the job that are hard to obtain by maybe certain minority groups or whatever it is. It was a thing, and when they got on the job, there you can talk to black firefighters on now. If you meet an older one who's getting ready to retire, ask him what it was like when he first got on. I promise you, they ran into racists. When I got on the job 15 years ago, openly, old guys be like, I don't fucking like black people. I'm glad there's none in this house.
Really?
And you're like, Jesus Christ! But that same guy,
Can we acknowledge your race here?
yeah, I'm Asian.
Okay. So was there any kind of flack
Nobody's
at all?
racist to Asians. Not even Hitler was racist to Asian people. Like, for real. He called the Japanese the Aryans of the West.
What about when that
Or
pit
the
bull
Aryans
was
of the
cooking? Did they tell you you were going to eat the pit bull? Was that,
Yeah.
that would have been my go-to joke for you.
I mean, there's jokes. There's jokes about busting chops
Right.
and things like that.
They don't let you drive the fire truck, right?
No, definitely not. Actually, but that's where it is. You know, it's that culture of like with comics and fighters and gang members. Like I keep leaning to is that they just don't have. If you're gonna make rules, that's when things start falling apart. That's when you tell them they have to act a certain civilized way around amongst each other in the house, things are falling apart. Should they be allowed to be racist? No, but you know what? It's not in that environment. Maybe initially, when there's an overwhelming numbers and there's nothing the guy can do about it, then maybe HR needs to step in if it's egregious, right?
Right.
But these racist firefighters, as openly racist as they were, when it came to a rescue situation, black, white, I've seen it all. These same guys would just same job to anybody, regardless of their race. They just didn't like being around black people.
Right.
And when they got in a house of black people, they'd be confrontational about it. And they'd express themselves because they felt, you can't tell me. Nobody tells me what to do. You don't tell me what to do. And I mean, if I feel this way, it's my opinion. Fuck you. Now, in that I love the culture because the black people just fire back. Listen, you racist motherfucker. Here's why that's not okay. Because you fucking dumb hick thinks that this and this and this, and this is how it is. This is how I actually am, you know? And the exposure, I think some people are less racist because of it. You know, they're not ever going to be like, yeah, it's fine if my daughter dates black people, or Mexicans or Asians or whatever, you know, but they're at least going to be like, well, I don't mind working with them. And that's a step. That's a step, you know? And then...
So what's when it's not a pressure situation and it's the modern firehouse of today, where I know you're very diversified in both sex and in race type situations and sexual orientation probably as well too, that when these social issues of the day, be it like Trump stuff or whatever kind of thing goes on, and like I know what you are politically, but I'm sure there's some people that are far left and I'm sure there's people that are far right. How does that dynamic come up? Is there rules about where we don't talk about this, or how do you guys deal with that
By
stuff?
today's standards, we have very few far left people.
Okay.
We have way more far right people.
Okay.
Fire culture in general, from my perspective, there's way more right wingers. Partially because there's mostly guys are older,
Right.
and they're mostly that grizzled, they're grizzled people who probably weren't hugged a lot as kids, you know, shit like that. Probably weren't heard stuff they shouldn't be hearing, and a lot of hate messages, you know, passing to them. They're just who they are. But yeah, and you get what used to be called very liberal people, you know, who had got in this job because they just really have a lot of compassion and care for everyone, and they'll have open arguments. And you know what? Sometimes they get into the fuck you and they go off to their room and stuff like that, but they're discussing. And the problem is I love a diverse firehouse. I want a representative from everything you can give me. I want, if it took 12 people in the house, I want a representative from all 12. The reason is because I want equal jokes spread out through all.
Right.
And I want to, if you're a woman, we can make jokes about you being a woman. If you're gay, you can make jokes about you being gay. You're allowed, everybody should be allowed to be attacked for who they are by their house. And when you have the problem that you have is when you're getting the diversity brought in, all these people who have these thoughts are going, oh, okay, we can't even bust chops on each other anymore because, that's not there's a woman in the station now, so everybody has to act different and accordingly. That's sexist to me. You're not, treat them like a firefighter first and then whatever classification they have next. I want a trans firefighter. And I want them to go, because then you know what happens? If the racist guy can bust your balls and see that you can take shit, and then you go into a fire and you kick ass and you help out around the station and you're a fucking productive member of that house, guess what? You end up getting loved.
All right.
I'm a weird guy. I was not exactly the most beloved person when I came on. But once people see you work, they change their opinion on you. And in this modern culture, you have, no, we can't even explore those things because we can't go through the turbulence that gets you there. We have to avoid that turbulence. And HR steps in. And you do have some newer, younger people that are very quick to go to HR about things.
Really?
Because they've been taught that. You go tell on somebody if they hurt your feelings.
Right.
You go tell on somebody if they tried to hurt your feelings. If they said something that you found somewhat offensive. Now the problem,
and they don't have the capacity, maybe, or the experience to just stand up for themselves, or
they haven't been exposed.
Right, or be.
Not everybody's taught to push back. Not everybody has that in them to aggressively push back. But then again, should you be a firefighter if you don't have any aggression in you? That's true. If you don't have any fight back in you, should you be a firefighter? Just because you can lift weights and physically pass the test, should you do it though?
That was kind of my thing, and now I'm having kind of second thoughts about it. It's like not all jobs are the same, and jobs like law enforcement and firefighters are very unique in the dealing with that risk. It creates an environment where you need those tension breaking moments of just being able to let loose and make a joke and do all that kind of stuff. So I can see that, but there's got to, I'm not there, so I don't know, but I'm thinking there's got to be a line that can't be crossed because you need to let people, become acclimated to the environment. You can't,
Right. But there is, but as long as you're allowing the other people to push back on those shitty people, because the majority of people will be good. And nowadays, the majority of people are not racist. Majority of people, I think, are not sexist or whatever. They might have these fucked up individual ideas about certain things that you go, oh, that's kind of racist. You think that or whatever.
Well, there's a big difference between, this is something that gets lost, is I think there's a big difference between intentional racism and accidental ignorant racism.
Yeah. And
like you just don't know because you've never been exposed to X, Y, whatever nationality or orientation. So you don't know. You just don't have the experience base. Right.
And you're right. There's too much. You went too far with that one or whatever, but they're self-governing in this kind of group. The problem is, even if it can be governed, I wouldn't have a problem with being governed by an outside body like an HR department if they also had the experiences of hating control, hating authority, enjoying your wildness and your freedom, adrenaline rushes. The fact that you're being ruled and controlled by people whose most dangerous thing in their whole life was driving to the store without their seatbelt on or something like that,
Right.
If they're so concerned about safety and
they don't have the context to filter the experiences.
They'll never understand it.
Right.
It'd be like if an HR department came in and tried to regulate MMA or cage fighting, or the Hells Angels got an HR department, or stand-up comedy got an HR department. It's like,
well, they've got one now. It's called Saturday Night Live.
Oh yeah, but so like it leans. We see what happens when you try to. There's certain mindsets that when you try to control them and push them into your box, they explode out.
Exactly.
Dave Chappelle in his latest special, Bill Burr's latest special, they're great examples of we'll regulate ourselves. You stay the fuck out of this.
Is there any hard rules from the social context of a firehouse? Like it's everybody
you don't
knows
fuck with people's wives, their gear, or their money.
Okay,
that's it.
That's it.
That's it.
The girlfriends, you can fuck the hell out of the girlfriend.
They're not married.
Okay.
If she's trying to jump on you, we had a guy. This is you don't have this at, I don't know, name a fucking corporation, IBM or whatever, Right. You don't have this happen. These guys are going out drinking. There's a captain, he's an authority figure, and there's a new firefighter, and the new firefighter is younger, stud. He's kind of a dumb jock, and he's a good-looking guy, and the other one's kind of a dumpy old man, and he's hitting on this waitress. He just got divorced. He's hitting on this waitress. She had nothing to do with him. She starts obviously indicating that she wants to talk to this younger guy more. The captain calls the younger guy outside. Hey, come talk to me for a minute. Fucking sucker punches him. And then he goes, yeah, I was drunk and whatever. And the other guy goes, he has a black eye, and goes, yeah, I was fucking drunk. Fuck that guy. And that's it. There's a lot of cultures that people don't spotlight because it's not good CBS TV or whatever the fuck people are being controlled by.
Right.
And they just don't understand that sometimes people get punched and then it's just done with and it's just over.
Right.
Sometimes people say something really shitty to somebody and it's just over. What is invoking the most change? Again, I keep reiterating this, but I think female firefighters right now are blazing the best trail. They're fucking killing it right now because of CrossFit and strongman and all the girl power stuff they hear when you're little. You can lift weights, you can play sports, you can do that shit too. You can you can win and lose and enjoy the extreme both and whatever you fucking want to do. So now you got these girls who are deadlifting 400 pounds. They're eating clean. They're supplementing. Their life is in the gym. And they're meeting up with these old fat fucks who want to tell them there ain't no spot for a female on the job. If I was stuck in a house fire, I wouldn't want some chick coming up to save me. I'll tell you what. I want a chick who's actively competing in CrossFit or strongman or MMA or something like that. On the side.
Won't lose their breath when they're fucking going up a ladder.
Exactly. I want them coming to save me versus you're 50 and haven't worked out in 40 years. You know, whatever you were in the Marines when you're 18. That's the last time you ran.
Right.
You know? No, get the fuck out of here.
Is there any experiences of where there was a physical limitation when working with a female firefighter? And how do you guys deal with it? I mean, not everybody is got the same level of strength, even amongst guys. I mean, some of the guys in your firehouse are going to be more stronger.
Yep.
Do you guys just kind of go in with a plan? Like, we know that fireman A can't do X, Y, and Z? Or
the weak ones, they disappear.
Okay.
When you get in that fire, you don't see them. You see them when you get outside.
Right.
You know, helping people get bottles of water. Oh,
right.
Did you know they're
doing the administrative stuff?
I was just in there. I got to take a break.
Okay.
You know, that it leans again to why you don't ask for breaks. Because you don't want to be that guy. You don't even want to get close to being that fucking guy.
How do you guys deal with that? Do you as the
There's
group?
nothing you can do. Peer pressure.
Okay. Hey,
why don't you fucking quit eating donuts and get in the gym for a minute?
Right.
You know? It is ball busting. You know, the ball busting that happens sounds horrific to a lot of people. If you were to really hear it. Look more towards the firefighter shows that you realize that doesn't happen. That's too much. That's real. And what it is it's, for me, the way I view it, it's a lot of positive peer pressure. Mm-hmm. You're being a punk bitch. Somebody calls you a punk bitch. You should be able to go, man, I don't want to get called a punk bitch again at dinner tonight. I don't get made fun of. I'm going to go fucking do some squats.
Right.
You know, I'm going to eat a steak instead of this fucking burrito. So, you know, and I think there's positive peer pressure that can change people. And the ones who won't change to that peer pressure just don't want to be part of the group anymore. And they kind of isolate themselves out, you know?
Right.
It's a lot like being with guys who are deployed in the military. You're trusting so much on these guys day to day and day in out. You really just can't have a tolerance for bullshit, you know?
Does that bring even the guys who are and gals who are functional in that type of job and that type of environment? Is there some negative personality traits that are common within there? What are those? And
there's
and what kind of dysfunction does that cause in the firehouse?
A lot like you'd get with any other group of people who aren't really controlled and don't want to be controlled, you know, and they'll get challenged and then they'll push back harder and the other person will push back even harder, and then eventually it becomes this, you know, like clashing. And you get guys who won't eat dinner in the same room. They won't be in the same room at the same time. They're on two different rigs in the same station, but they will not interact with each other. They just fucking hate each other. These guys are getting fights. It happens.
Okay.
You get strong. There's a lot of toxic masculinity, or however you want to define that. And how I define that is, I'd rather say disingenuous masculinity versus toxic, because it's toxic. I mean, are we really talking about everything? Every quality of masculinity is bad and toxic? No.
Right.
But there's some parts where you say you wear a t-shirt that tells people how tough you are. You got the fucking stickers on your truck and you do all the tough guy show, but you don't actually challenge yourself ever.
Right.
You don't challenge your food intake. You don't challenge your, you know, I don't want to work out, but I got to fucking work out because it's part of my job, you know? One guy said it. I like looking at it like this, like I'm a semi-pro athlete. I rely on my body to make my paycheck, and if I was playing for a baseball team, I'd have to work out too, so I just do it.
Right. That should be the mentality for both that and the law enforcement again.
And then they're insecure, and then the younger people, guys, especially when gals or somebody they feel is inferior, maybe gay dudes or whatever, start passing them up, and they see that person outworking them. Then they start getting all shitty, like a lot of people who are not genuine with themselves, they're not honest with themselves. They do that, you know, and then
start blaming others for their condition.
But again, you got 8 people, say 4 people, 8 people, whatever. Most of them are gonna be on the side of that person fucking outworks you, so you got to shut the fuck up.
Right.
You know?
And it's kind of that one of the positive benefits of the human's desire to be this tribalistic, group is when you're in that group and you're around other positive people who are positive, healthy lifestyles and things like that too. It's a contagious type behavior. And for the most part, often, I'm sure not everybody's going to respond that way, but
no. And I'm talking on a time of exactly in the time we live in right now.
Right.
Because the further you go back, the more that the old guys were just worshipped.
Right.
You're salty? Yeah, I'm salty too. You got a 25-year-old bitching like they've been divorced 4 times and the world's fucked them over.
Right.
And I'm like, bro, you make more money than your friends and you work way less than anyone else you know, days wise, and you got a job that people tell you you're fucking awesome because you do it. What are you fucking mad about?
Yeah.
Because that guy's salty, you're gonna be salty too. Yeah, awesome. Enjoy the next 30 years of your life, moron.
No.
You know. So but I see that changing. This is all mostly talks about within my house too, because there are houses where the shitbags will glom together and you'll have a whole house of shitbags. And then you'll have a whole house of people who are just whatever, but you also have good houses too. You have houses where you go, yeah, if you're filling in that house and you're going there,
Right.
be ready to work out or get made fun of because old guys are fucking animals. It's like a prison yard in there, or get ready to get pranks pulled on you, funny people get together and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's a lot of self-regulating. A lot of it takes care of itself. And I think most of what the management side of the house does is just fuck things up. They just make problems where their problems are taken care of themselves, or they don't give people the option of the rebuttal, and they're fucking up the idea. It's like if you were to put an HR department in your house growing up, if you had like 5 siblings and your mom and dad, and then somebody shoved an HR person who was from a whole different family.
Right. Who had no...
And they started point out, you're wrong, you're right. You're wrong, you're right. You're punished, you're not. And everybody go, even the people at some point who were in the right would be like, or quote unquote in the right would go, like, who the fuck are you?
Right.
Why are you telling us what to do?
This is our thing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this, because this is one thing we mentioned in the kind of the pre-interview was what are the bad habits, specifically like drug use and things like that. How does that?
Now, first of all, are we bad? Come on, Jeff.
Well, it depends on the quality of the drug they're using, I guess.
And the user.
Right, that's true.
Because there's some people who can enjoy cocaine for just a party favor, and there's some people who need cocaine to get going in the day.
Right. Well, that's what I always use example. My crack dealing days. One of my customers was a firefighter. I always thought that was
not
kind of
surprise me at all.
Okay, so that blew my mind. I was like, oh, why are you so?
Because
you're a hero.
But because again, how I got in this job, something fucked up happened to me.
Right.
To a friend, and then I witnessed it, but a lot of people, the guys who are really good at their job, something fucked up happened to them. Right. And you know what happens then, or you're addicted to the dopamine rush of the adrenaline and all that shit, You love a rush. Something fucked you up, and now that's your comfort zone. And so a lot of people think like, oh, they're grown Boy Scouts. They're good people. They'll hug. They give kids rides on fire trucks, and they show up at local parades and shit like that.
Do you ever get tired of that shit? Having to fucking
put,
because I hate. You have a kid, but do you ever get like tired of putting on the act? Like, I want to bring my son in to just sit on the fire truck.
Every time it's just, oh fuck, because then you got to be around. I don't know how fucking filthy this kid is,
right?
And just people they want to come by and talk to you and ask questions. It's like, oh god, and they always have the same questions or the same jokes or whatever.
Oh, this is what I want to. Every time I drive by a fire station, it always has the thing like, stop in and get your blood pressure checked.
No,
do you guys do that?
We do that, but
do people really do it? Like,
probably a couple a day.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they want to have a conversation. It's like that old guy at the bank who wants to have a conversation with the banker, but you don't. But I don't want to talk to him because I'm probably doing something else.
He wants to tell you his fire story. Well, I remember one time I saw a house on fire.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah. That thing must have been cooking. You know anything about that one? 76 in Milwaukee. What? They want to ask you if you know another firefighter who's a volunteer somewhere, this and that, and you're like, oh, God. You know what? I was playing Grand Theft Auto.
Right. You're interrupting my game plan.
And you know what? I keep saying that about, that's specific to where I work. There are some stations that are really shitty, or some departments that are really shitty. They say, well, everybody else from 9 to 5 can't take naps and do whatever they want, and so you can't either. While you're on
Really?
the clock, this is, you'll be gainfully employed until the city is officially done with the business day or whatever.
Go polish that truck.
Yeah, how about you go polish my dick? You know what else they're not doing tonight? They're not getting up 9 times to go deal with fucking belly aches and actual death, bouncing back and forth between, you didn't need to call us, to, oh my God, why did you wait to call us? And you're not dealing with the horrors of what you see on a day-to-day basis. No accountant's going to look at a number sheet and go, oh my God, I'm losing sleep over this one for the next 10 years.
Right.
So stay the fuck out of our business.
I sidetracked us a little bit, but as far as the drug aspect of it, of the whole deal, is there bad problems? Is there
some, just like, there's some people who the drugs consume them versus them consuming the drugs. I think for the most part, a lot of guys who just really can do their drugs responsibly.
Okay.
Not saying there's a lot of guys who do drugs, but there's more guys who are doing hard drugs on a fire department than there are at your job, probably. Not your job, to the average listener.
Yeah, it's a requirement for my job.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a situation or heard of a situation where an addiction issue came up and it interfered with their job and doing their job, and they have how's that dealt with?
Alcoholism more than anything else.
Oh yeah, I imagine that.
Oh, so much. Even functioning alcoholics. I mean, I'd say there's a ridiculous chunk of functioning alcoholics, and I think that's in society in general. I think we glance over that. There's a lot of potheads. A lot of potheads. One time somebody said, if they were drug tested at a fire department, any fire department, you'd probably lose half the department. And there's a lot of cocaine.
Is that one of those things where the governmental bodies kind of look the other way because of the job?
No, it's a union thing.
Okay.
That the unions are saying you have your Fourth Amendment right to privacy, and unless there's a valid reason to test somebody, it can't be just they were saying like, oh man, isn't fucking cocaine cool? You can't test them because of that. They have to actually be showing they have problems.
Okay.
They're not showing up to work on time, or they fuck something up big time, or whatever.
What about like an accident situation? Like you do something wrong? Can they?
Any accident they can drug test you, like a vehicular accident, because they want to beat the lawyers to that drug test, right? And say no, we cleared them, and they want to find out, do you need to go fucking rehab before we drug test you? And things like that. And you get that sometimes, but you guys would be like, before they fuck up, they go, I'm not supposed to be in this situation. I need to stop and I need to go to rehab. Okay. And it happens. But again, because you love, anybody who's felt adrenaline knows, and anybody who's felt adrenaline and also done cocaine knows it's a very similar feeling.
Is it? I've never done cocaine.
Oh, wow. You dealt crack and you never did coke?
Never did.
No,
I accidentally, well, not accidentally, I smoked a joint that had cocaine in it one time. I was like, it was definitely felt pretty good, but it was I've never like snorted a line of cocaine.
You ever done Adderall?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Adderall and cocaine, very similar feeling in my opinion.
Really? Okay.
But I'm so hyper right now. I'm so up that I'm focused.
Okay.
My brain's clear and I have one thought right now. And then, it's like how I'm babbling right now because I'm not on drugs.
Right.
So, but you get that adrenaline rush and you're just like in a fire. You're just laser fucking focused. This is everything right now. It's requiring all my attention. And it feels good. It feels good to be up. Now, personally,
push your phone back and start to get a little bit of feedback in the mic.
Oh yeah. I'm personally, I fucking like, I like a bump of coke here and there, or maybe once a year, twice a year type of thing, if it presents itself.
Celebratory.
No, if you're at somebody's birthday party and the guy's cutting up rails, and you're like, okay, I'll do it. But it doesn't affect. It has no negative effect on some other people. That's all they're doing is trying to get the next bump.
Okay.
And that fucks them up, and then they can't do their job and they can't function.
I wonder what, and maybe you know the answer to this. I wonder, like in a legal state, as far as marijuana goes.
I'm wondering the same thing.
Like, do they just say, just don't be high?
What do they do to
cops?
Shift? What do they do to cops on that? Who are in a legal state?
Right. Because, you're going to have it in your system if you do it.
What about military people who are in a legal state? If you're at Fort Carson, Colorado, right?
I'm going to think that the military goes by federal law.
Yeah, they definitely do. Or the National Guard. That's state employed.
That's true.
So, I don't know. It's weird. And I think just for the most part, I would guess that most departments are just like, we don't fucking, unless there's a reason, we're not going to look for problems.
Exactly.
Which is a smart move from most companies should do that. I think insurance.
Anybody should be able to smoke some weed. It's firefighters and good cops.
Hey, what'd
who
you do
the job.
yesterday? A bunch of shit that most people won't have to experience it in their whole lives. Yesterday,
Right.
We'll have the end of a week. We'll have the end of our 4-day weeks, and we'll just sometimes just be like, "Can you believe all the shit we've seen this week?" And then we'll be bringing something like, "I forgot about that," because so
Right.
many other things have happened. And then you're like, "Man, any one of these would be a once in a lifetime for somebody else," and we're forgetting them within a few days.
It's happening
There's just
on the
something else
daily.
jamming into your brain.
Let's tackle the.
Well, I want to talk about drugs more.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just want to really get across that it's not like there's a bunch of fucking meth heads and crack heads running around fire departments, they're untrustworthy or whatever. They're the most functional fucking drug users I've ever seen in my life. The ones who are doing the drugs. And then people know that guy does a lot of coke. That guy fucking drinks too much. That guy smokes a ton of weed. You can't smoke too much weed, by the way.
It's impossible. I've tried.
There's been a couple guys who've been smoking weed at the stations, and they're just like, yeah, that's just what they do.
So, I mean, that's like an unwritten rule type thing?
No. It's just they trusted the people that were around them, their
Right.
house, to not, that they knew they could.
Especially dealing with injuries and shit. And
Yeah.
you slip and fall on the ice. Like, I'm going to smoke some fucking weed.
Yeah.
Go to sleep.
Or you just hurt from working out a lot and
Yeah.
stuff like that and get older.
And all that pussy you're getting. I mean, that's
Just your dick, skin on your
just
dick's
raw, right?
So but it's almost like they're taking themselves over and over again back to that comfort zone, like war vets do a lot of drugs too, because they just need that. Well, I haven't got the rush naturally. A lot of firefighters box, especially a long time ago, because there's a rush. Somebody's trying to beat the shit out of you. There's a rush, There's a lot of firefighters who either competed in MMA before they got into firefighting. I myself, if I wasn't on this job, I've thought about this a lot. Like, you think about what would I do if I lose my job? What would my plan be? My plan B? Fucking gang member.
Gang member.
Something like that.
Or you just go the opposite route. You just become an arsonist, Just like,
There's no money in arson.
well, you got to get hired by the right
Yeah. If you
person
get
that
the
needs
insurance
to
claims.
have some homeless people burned out of their apartment building,
But yeah, I'm like, there's really no other way I couldn't just do that corporate grind, the 9 to 5 grind or whatever. Maybe a job like you do or something like that. I could really find something that leans more that way. But if I couldn't find anything right away, it'd be like, well, I'm going to join a fucking gang or something. Or
You need some kind of
I need it.
you need an element of danger. You
If
need an element of something that's going to be chaotic.
If I was stuck, if I was an accountant, I originally wanted to be a lawyer. And what I want to do is I want to do business law. I want to go over towards.
There's lots of cocaine in law.
Oh,
too.
there is so much. But they're doing it because they're rich. And my dad goes, if you became a lawyer, especially reading contracts, you'd kill yourself in the first month. Or you'd shoot up the place. And I was like, and I really put some thought into it. I was like, yeah, you're right. Because I tried sitting still for a while. I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. But that was my option. If I followed all the rules that society told me to.
You would have to be like Batman. You had to be a lawyer by day and like a vigilante at night.
Something, or a fucking asshole. I might be a piece of shit if I didn't find the right outlet.
Exactly.
So I'm like, this is why you can't keep fucking putting your corporate college taught beliefs into a group of wild people.
Right.
Well,
explain that to the listener then. Why? And that's kind of something we hit it on in the pre-conversations. Like the current generation of young people coming out of like a college environment have a different mentality and a different brain process for how to deal with social issues or dysfunction or things like that. What negative element does that bring in, and give it some context of
more bad than good.
Okay, but
the one saving grace, how much I fucking hate war. The one of the small iotas of good things is that you get good firefighters out of war.
Okay.
They didn't go to college. They didn't spend 18 to 22 partying, learning how to walk that line, this is how you fit into corporate America. This is how business management class taught you how to control people and manage them and whatever. No, they fucking went to war and they learned all that shit on the battlefield. And now they get into the fire department and you're like, okay, I know how it works when we're not kicking ass and how it is when we are, and the two personalities I have for that. And those guys are great. But then you get into college people and they get promoted faster because they have college credits. And now they're in charge. And now they're telling you, well, this isn't how you're supposed to be. You're an employee of a city or a state or a federal employee. You need to have a higher level of professionalism. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to talk to people this way. Don't say these things. Don't bring this up at work. This isn't a workplace thing. No, it's not. It's not a workplace. It's a house.
All right.
It's a house with a bunch of people who rely on each other.
That's a good point.
All the time.
Right. Yeah.
And like again, my HR comparison earlier.
This is what's even different than cops, because cops don't work like that. They don't. They work their shift. They go home.
Yep.
They don't share a housing unit with a fellow cop in most cases.
And so, you get these people who are in these management positions that have been taught how to manage Whole Foods, how to manage an Amazon warehouse, not how to manage a fucking firehouse.
Right.
And now you bring those ideas into a bunch of people who are going to react very negatively to those ideas. And eventually comes a point where you either have to abandon that idea or you have to go, you do this, you're fired. And now you have a bunch of unmotivated firefighters who are not allowed to be themselves, who are not going to be themselves when you ask them to. It just sucks. It's a drain every day. And I'm sure there's some people who do your fucking job. I have to do that too. Whatever. You don't live this life. You don't know what it takes to pull somebody out of a fire. I do.
I'm all for equality, but there's got to be exceptions made for people who put. I mean, just the risk of danger and death.
And just that
changes a job from somebody who's just pushing papers or working at a store at a deli or something like that. Think
of the hours too in the space you have. Okay. When I was 14, I worked at a grocery store. If there was somebody, if I had to follow the rules, it's fine. I'm not talking to people. I'm not next to the same people all day. I see different people throughout the day. I walk around. I'm in the grocery store. I'm doing my little jobs around the store and stuff. And it's all this. I'm away and, seeing people. And I don't see you for 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. Not at the fire station. You're always seeing each other. You're always around each other. And you just are connected. Even if you don't like each other at first, there's just, you start to know each other. And it's just like that cousin you don't like.
Right.
And you can't control people like that in that environment because you can tell at the end of a 6-8 hour shift, you can go home and be yourself.
Right.
You don't have that end. You have to do the whole 24 of being somebody else, being this oppressed version of you. Right. And you just can't. You can't do it 122 days a year.
I don't know. There's some people really good at being
sociopaths, psychopaths,
being oppressed and held down. And
and they work but those people. Now ask them, stop right now. Just stop what you're doing right now, this role you're playing, and go fucking do something extremely dangerous.
Let's talk about the, because there's always the outside idea about and it almost becomes another cliche of the fire department, of the relationship between firemen and cops. And I know you well enough that you have an adverse opinion of a lot of law enforcement officers.
I do not like policing.
Is that thunder?
I think it is. It just came out of fucking nowhere. Either it's thunder or your whole roof. Somebody just rolled an oil can over your roof or oil drum.
Interesting. I don't know what the fuck is.
The idea. Okay, so the reason I really don't like cops is because there's a bunch of shitty laws and rules that we all know we have to follow. This is bullshit. Why do I have to have this or that? Who's enforcing those rules? Who's always been enforcing all the shitty governments? Hong Kong. Who's doing all the bullshit there? Cops. Right. And it's always this cop out of, I'm just told what to do and I'm just doing my job.
Right.
No, you're a fucking human being first and you know that shit's wrong. And you're a human first, and in this country, you're an American second, and you know our principles of freedom. And if you see people outside protesting, the RNC, the DNC, whatever, and they're outside their protest zones, and you go arrest them for that, fuck you. Fuck you and everyone who doesn't tell you to go fuck, all your coworkers who don't tell you to fuck yourself too. You're anti-American, you're anti-Constitution, whatever. You're enforcing these bullshitty rules that shouldn't be enforced. There's also a ton of cops who are not fit for the job, but aren't being outed because there's this thin blue line and you don't cross it. You don't talk to other people about it. And if you're not going to police in your house, then fuck you guys. That's ridiculous.
So how does that work in the fire department? Is there a similar thing? Like if you know that the firefighter, he's like, if he
sucks at his job or he's going to potentially kill somebody,
right,
he's outed quick.
Okay.
And there's
no retribution type thing like why did you tell on Bob? Because
Bob because it doesn't start with telling.
Was squeezing on titties when he rescued people.
If with a real firefighter, the ones I talk when I talk about this, I talk about the ones I respect. I'm not talking about the ones who are doing snaky bullshit like you would in corporate America or whatever. Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about is you have a good firefighter tells a guy, "Hey Bob, you're being a piece of shit. You suck because of this or this or this or whatever, and you're gonna get somebody killed. You're a moron. Whatever. You need to do this to fix it." Oh, whatever, fuck you. Then it goes. If it goes, geez, all right, I'm going to fix that then. No problem. issue resolved. But if Bob keeps being a fucking idiot and is, especially with that bravado of I'm not going to get anybody killed. Everybody tells me I'm the fucking best, you know? You're not allowed to question me. You do the job if you think it's so easy. You know, that kind of bullshit excuses. No, you don't get that in the fire service. And cops just, if they would start outing the shitty cops, I'd have a huge push in that direction.
Me too. I would believe the suggestion that there's good cops and bad cops if the good cops acted like good cops.
As individuals, there's tons of good cops out there.
Right.
And maybe they don't out each other because they don't want to have I know a cop who got fired because he was a training officer and he's outing the racists, and it became too problematic because they weren't firing the racists, they were just moving them.
Really?
He had a guy drop the N-word when he drove by some people, and he's like, okay, this guy dropped the N-word. And they went, oh, okay, so he was no longer with that training officer, and he's with another training officer. And like, why don't you fire the guy?
It's like pedophile priests. They just move them around.
And so these things keep happening. So this guy got fired, and then the chief in his city told the news, hey, we fired him because he has PTSD issues. Well, guess what happened there? He got a lifetime severance package because the chief admitted he had mental illness issues that couldn't allow him to do his job anymore.
Holy shit.
So if you start outing each other or taking accountability for the ones who do suck. Oh, that training officer, he got canned, and it's like, why you're firing the wrong people? And I've heard multiple stories like this from cops who've been fired, and you're just like, you're not trying to. You have a problem in your industry,
right?
And in no way are you trying to fix a problem of killing people that is very controversial to complete. How many cops are turning against Amber Geiger, the Dallas cop who broke into the guy's house and shot him?
Seems like after it first happened, there was like just from what I was reading, and I haven't talked to a cop directly about this, there was like some immediate fallout, but it only to separate themselves from it because it sounded so egregious.
Look what Dallas PD has done after that. The guy who was supposed to testify is dead.
Right.
Because they went into his house looking for marijuana, supposedly, just like this guy. They said they dropped marijuana off in there and like start planting evidence to get caught for it. And then at the end of the day, what they have to say, even without all that, with this Geiger shooting this guy,
right?
And then Dallas PD goes, the accusations on us and everything may really make Dallas PD feel poorly. We feel like it's painting us in a bad light. You're the guilty ones. Quit acting like you're the victims.
Right.
And that's the kind of bullshit I can't stand. Cops love to act like they're the victim whenever somebody is turning against them. Any criticisms. And I fucking hate that. And and the reason I have such a problem with it is you're in so much power. You have such an option to end a life or to ruin a life, to take someone and put them in prison and separate them from their family and wreck their whole fucking life because you have a chip on your shoulder. You don't like the way they talk to you, so you planted evidence on them or whatever. It's too powerful of a position to let just fucking idiot who's looking for a job or an authority kick to get into.
Right.
And I really wish the solution. I thought of this the other day. My solution for teachers and cops in general, because it's shitty teachers too, but not to that level. What they should do, and I'm pro cop. This does mean I'm pro cop. I'm pro good cop. And what you should do is take all the money and this war bullshit, right? We stop the wars. We're spending trillions a year on wars, right? Take that money, directly reroute it to police and teacher salaries. So we're paying them pro athlete level pay. And then you can hold them to pro athlete level standards. Like, you really better be the fucking best, one of the best in the world to do this job, or we're firing you because some other guy's going to want to make millions a year to be a cop. And maybe not millions a year, but you know what? If you're paying cops $250,000 a year to be a cop, then you could say, hey, you got to be the fucking best.
Right.
Cops who don't want body cameras. If they made me wear a body camera at work and all the shit I said earlier about HR and everything like that, I'd still be against it and I'd feel uncomfortable and I might not do the job anymore, but I'd understand it. Right. I'm still working for the people. And if the people want me to wear a body camera, well then fucking guess what? I'm wearing a body camera. I'd like to say there's some things you're going to hear on that body camera that you probably won't be comfortable with, but let's get ahead of that ahead of time. And then if you're complaining about that, you really don't have a case because go back to the previous hour we've been talking. But with cops, you're working with people. What are you hiding?
Right.
And again, you're working an 8-hour shift.
Well, that tells me, and it is the case in a lot of things. I mean, we know this, that there's a lot of criminal behavior by cops. So while they may make $100,000 a year, there's a lot of cops out there who are making other money by doing criminal shit within their job context. I mean,
and it goes back decades and decades. Maybe maybe I bet back to the beginning of Authority Figures, because it was Scorpio. Remember that movie Scorpio? Same story. One guy
Scorpio.
is like,
was it called Scorpio? It was called
the Al Pacino movie. Where he starts out in the cops.
it's an S word. I can't remember what it is. I'm yapping.
But you know what I'm talking about. There's all these tales of like, this guy went and tried to dime out a whole department, and that were all this whole corrupt wing of this department. Getting fucked with by the people who should have been protecting him.
Exactly.
So,
well, how does that? And this may be case by case. I'm sure it's case by case. What's the dynamic between police officers when you're doing your job?
Most firefighters want to suck the dick of a cop.
Really?
That's a little much, but they're raised in this. Some of them are raised in this. This ideas that firemen, policemen, medics are all good people, and you trust them.
Right.
You trust them because they're, like you were saying about firemen smoke crack.
Right.
No, they're fucking people who are making middle class wages, and they're gonna have all the problems that is associated with that, plus having wildness in their blood.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that. But, I mean, how do you fix it? I think you pay them a lot more and make the standards really, really high. And then they also aren't worried about maybe the leaning less towards corruption because I got enough money and I don't want to lose this job,
Well, it's really hard to fire a cop.
That's the other thing. Yeah, why? I know police unions and all that kind of stuff, but you know what? The NFL has a union too, and they cut people all the fucking time on a moment's notice.
Right.
Right? If the union backed them and said, hey, yeah, we only want the best of the best doing this job too.
Right.
I don't know. It's a really complicated issue on the police side, but with the firefighter side, most of them like the cops. But you do get some, and this is really weird, is that when they do meet a bad cop, or the few cops they do run into with work, they're like, man, that guy's a fucking asshole.
Right.
Or that guy tried to lean on me, or that guy we were talking about earlier, but who was trying to arrest that firefighter for parking his truck where the cop didn't want it parked.
Have you ever had that personal experience, like at the scene of something you were called to, and you had to deal with a cop like that?
Not long ago. I mean, it wasn't my issue. I was just watching it all go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a cop and we started talking to other crews around the city, and they're like, yeah, this cop keeps fucking with us too. And then he'll sit and like try to target guys when they're leaving work.
Really?
Yeah, he's just fucking with firemen, and he likes to.
One of you guys fucked his wife. That's what that is.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it is. Dipping your hose in the wrong.
There's a station across the street. The guy's wife was banging the whole station.
Who was the cop?
No. This is a guy who lives across the street from the fire station.
Okay.
So this, the couple. So the wife's going over and just fucking all of them, right?
Nice.
Eventually the husband finds out.
I mean, bad.
Eventually the husband finds out, gets rid of her, keeps the house, sees those guys, and goes, I'd do the same thing if I was you.
Really?
And he's like, I know you guys are totally, I fucking get it. She comes over there, she wants to fuck around, fuck around. And he was not mad at all at the firefighters. I'm like,
so that now are they fucking his new wife? Is that?
I think they're fucking him.
Okay.
And so they start running these people who are dickhead cops, and you're like, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's all I've dealt with my whole life.
Right.
Is those guys. And that's when people who don't like cops and the people who are protesting the cops, that's who they've been dealing with their whole lives. Only that guy. How do you not get that? Well, they're not all that way. No, to you, they're not.
Exactly.
To
Not every cop acts the same way with every single person.
Right.
And sometimes it is race related, but it's not always race related. It could be that they know that you're in an economic situation where they can get away with more because you don't have a fleet of lawyers waiting to,
your age. Most of them, they fuck with kids all the time because they know you're not going to get a lawyer. You're not going to fucking do any retaliation, nor could you.
Right.
So they fuck with kids all the time. It's really fucking the twisted up cops are really fucking twisted up. And again, they need to be outed by their coworkers to be like, that's not cool.
Well, and it's legitimately one of the few jobs that will draw in bullies because that's what they're looking for, and that's why they get so many sexual offenders and stuff too. I was just going to say how many they get that freedom and
right. And so instead of making the cop's job seem like, oh, you are judge, jury, executioner, it really should be like, arrests that made have to be real justified. Otherwise, they can go, what'd you do that for? Exactly. What'd you fuck with that guy's life for? Because you get arrested, even without conviction, it's still fucking up your life.
Yep.
Yeah,
I know for a fact, yeah.
So it should be like, okay, well,
granted, I don't think I've ever been arrested. Maybe one time where I shouldn't have been arrested.
Yeah,
Most
but
of the time.
but that's
It's like I
but
had
you
to come-
still understand how much of the system you go through during that one time, and how much it can come back on you too.
Yeah, like you said, if certain jobs, even just the air of getting arrested will make them.
I had a cop told me he was going to arrest me because I told him that
Because you were Asian? Holy shit.
No, I go, you're a fucking asshole with an authority complex, and he goes, I can arrest you for that. I go, see,
He proved my point.
I go,
right
no,
there.
you can't.
Right?
I go, you can put cuffs on me, but you will fucking be. And I will have a bunch of money from your department. You'll still have your job for
Right.
some reason, but
Taxpayers will pay for it.
Yep.
What's the talking about cops and firefighters? Cops have a very bad problem with something. The statistic is 40% of them are doing some kind of domestic
that
violence.
low?
Is it that low? Well, that's probably the low number they gave. But with domestic violence issues, is there a similar thing with married firefighters? I know you have what
if
appears
it's-
to be a good relationship.
If it, you keep saying what it is.
I don't know.
I feel like you're
may be
really
a fucking
suspicious of me.
I am. That's what I'm suspicious of.
You know, I understand. If from an outsider's view looking in, if I was to look into my own life, I'd be like, that's not right. That's not real. That's bullshit.
Well, I just qualify myself because I know that a
lot of people do
people
bullshit.
listening don't know that I know you as well. They do
But you see my shit on Facebook and whatever, Instagram, whatever.
because everything on Facebook's real, right?
Yeah, but then some people do go like, oh, that.
You're just at home making your girlfriend or your wife fucking
Yeah.
make that post about you being happy,
There's
bitch.
people really like that, so I definitely get why the joke's being, the saying is being run over and over again. But as far as domestic abuse amongst firefighters, if it's happening, I'm in a large number. I'm not aware of it, and that could be the case. There could be guys. I beat the shit out of my wife yesterday, But for the most part, it's just the same guys. Like, yeah, wife's been on my case. gotta get all my to-do list
If the
done.
job is the thing that affects the police officer, that authority, and then it gets caught up in their head, and then they take that home and want to apply that at home, then I could see why it would be different because it's not the same thing for
And firefighters at the end of the day are caretakers.
Yeah.
They're people who are drawn to care for other people.
They're rescuers,
Yeah.
versus authority figures.
And then also, cops, if you meet cop wives and girlfriends, the girls who are attracted to cops they get really good looking girls who are really insane.
Okay.
They get girls who are, a lot like any other group of wild people that seem like they're bad boys or tough guys, whatever. They get these crazy chicks who might lean into fueling that fire.
Right.
Not saying they deserve to get abused or anything like that, but man,
Some of them kind of like that.
There's a long path leading up to that sometimes, where it's like, okay, the signs were there very early and you loved it.
Right.
You're both in love with this chaos.
You love getting hit and you love Ugg boots. That's both those things.
You love getting blackout drunk and then telling people your husband's a firefighter while they're trying to pick you up off the side of the road.
Right.
Or cop. Yeah, so I mean, it does happen. I want to know how many female cops abuse their husbands.
That's interesting.
It's out there.
Was that the chick that shot the dude? Was she married? No, because she was fucking some other police officer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. It's got to happen.
Yeah. To be honest, if I was married to a cop, I'd kind of want her to beat me a little bit. But that's, not because she's a cop, just because I'm sad.
Gently with the ass. Yeah, I don't know. I don't hear about it much, but I think it's the nature of the job is caretakers. And a lot of us are very happy with our lives, too.
Right. Well, let's talk about PTSD.
Yeah.
As far as there's some unhappy times and some situations, is that when you talk about PTSD in the fire department, is that from just like dangerous situations and getting kind of
you see.
Almost a little.
It's everybody's different. Some people have one. Oh, that's the thing that I couldn't get that out of my mind. For the most part, it's a real sneaky motherfucker.
Okay.
Because there's all these accumulations of these thoughts of, man, that kid's got a real fucking rough life, man. I wish I could adopt that kid and just take him home right now. If I could do that, I'd have 150 kids living in my house.
So it's not just like a danger or risk of life thing. It's just the emotional impact.
Sadness.
Okay.
You watch people.
I didn't think of it like that.
You watch people lose their family members over and over again, and you don't think about it. You go home and you're not even giving it a second thought. But one guy told me, after 30 years on the job, he looked back at everything and said, I started out married and happy, and now I'm divorced and bitter. And he goes, and I realized all these things I was just not even thinking were an issue had accumulated, and I turned into, at some point, I became an alcoholic and an asshole. And everybody who lived in me was right to do so. And he goes, but I don't have a date or time or run I can stamp on that. I go, that was the thing that made me. He goes, it's just all this darkness day in and day out that you get to, and it just eats at you like a cancer.
All right.
And you don't see it coming until it's totally infected your whole being.
I get that. I didn't think of it in that way. It's before when I started doing like the podcast when I was on radio, I was a lot more like following political and social issues a lot more closer than I am right now. I purposely pulled myself back because I noticed I started like living with that and always having like I couldn't, and I still can't to a degree, like I couldn't experience some happiness without thinking about something that I read or something that I was concerned about. Like why, like I can't be happy right now because I know X, Y, and Z is happening. And it like affected my relationship. Like I would get in some arguments with my girlfriend and stuff. And like, well, why are we worried about this when this is going on? And it wasn't her fault, but I was like dropping it on her lap. Like we can't do this because this is going on.
Yeah. You want to go on a vacation? No, there's people who are starving to death and they're being gassed. Yeah. And then, so you like every Christmas, you'll get these memories of the girl who was OD'd and then raped on Christmas Day, and the fucking family that lost their dad 2 days before Christmas, and you worked them and you had to tell them they're right in front of the presents in the Christmas tree. And yeah, your dad's gone, and all those presents are going to be reminders. Each one, everything you have to clean up around here is going to be a reminder. And I'm walking out there going, yeah, I'm walking away from the situation, but you're not ever.
Right.
Walking away from the situation. Kids on the first day of school, or the night before the first day of school, that lose a parent, or parents that you have to tell them their kid died, and you're just seeing this over and over again, and you're just like, fuck, this is the world, and you can't. It's just part of nature, man.
Right. But you're getting an overdose of what nature is.
So then you get tied into all these things.
Yeah.
Oh, my kid's birthday. Well, guess who's not having a fucking birthday party today?
Jesus.
Yeah. So it turns into dark jokes again. Why you can't have people who don't experience this life telling these people how to live and how to act in a 24-hour period.
Because they're dealing with something that the average person is definitely not.
Yeah.
Or at least not in that much combined and built up amount.
Going back to, they shouldn't be testing for weed or anything as long as you're holding your shit together.
They should be giving you guys weed.
Because some people are doing these things to keep it together. Some people, it's eating away and it's toxic to them and it's going to destroy them ultimately. But some people, it's what they need to get that sleep or to blow off the steam or whatever,
Right.
And if they didn't get drunk and get in a bar fight, it'd be much, much worse type of thing. So the PTSD is really fucking, but we're opening up about it. We have counselors now. We have people that like the culture is saying like, talk about it. It's not, doesn't make you weak to talk about it. Another thing about the war,
so that's one of the examples what I was saying, like the people coming from the more educated backgrounds, college degrees and things like that. That's one of the things that they're learning as well too, and bringing, isn't it? Am I wrong?
They know it, but it's like everything else that they tell you. It's done with this arrogance and this down talking. But who does know it and who does have it down right is soldiers. Guys who are on the battlefield learn that the only way we get through this is by leaning on each other mentally too, by expressing how we felt about things, by talking about these things, making jokes about them, and taking a lot of this pressure and the value off those things away by having camaraderie and how you guys deal with it, however you deal with it. If you want to be sad and sit in a circle and cry, or if you want to make the most fucking dark jokes you've ever heard, or whatever, You want to go race fucking cars on your days off?
Letting that pressure valve off.
Yeah. Just like those tanks we were talking about earlier. You got to let it out or it's going to explode.
Right.
And, having a good family helps. Things like that, having people you can talk to. I'm a very open book, so that's helped me a ton. But there was a point probably 5 years into my career that I found myself drunk in my backyard in like the middle of the day smashing anything I could get my hands on.
Really?
I called a firefighter in San Francisco and I go, I don't know what's happening to me right now. I don't know why I'm like this right now. And I just knew him from Facebook.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't.
Were you looking like? Do you think it was an outlet for tension? Is that what you're describing?
I was in a really bad place. It was all the demons in my head just getting to me, and having a little baby and seeing like the horrors in the world that you have to shelter that kid from, or how sheltering's not right because you can't ever protect them wholly from that, But how do you make sure that they're not the little girl who's raped that you have to go take to the hospital?
Right.
And it's just a lot. And then one day, for no reason at all, you just see a bottle of whiskey on the counter and you just go, yeah, that's what's up right now.
Wow.
And then a few days go by and you're like, man, I've just been a drunken, angry blur for a few days. What the fuck is going on with me? I shouldn't be this mad. And it's PTSD. It's just the demons in your head.
Holy shit.
And
so do you think that for the most part, every firefighter is dealing with a degree of PTSD on the regular?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Whether they know it or not. And a lot of it comes down to, not a lot of it, but some of it will come down to what they experience in their life to put them in that job. That's some issues that they're dealing with. what they've seen on the job are some issues they're dealing with. And the worst people are the people who pretend that they're having a really hard time with PTSD when they're doing it for attention or to get a paycheck or something like that, and they don't really have anything wrong with them, and they're devaluing the real issue. You know, I don't think there should
Making
be
it harder for everybody.
You're right. You know, and so it's a tough balance because as soon as somebody starts saying something, there's immediate like, is that guy a whiny bitch or is he really experiencing something? And you don't really know. You have to judge a lot of their character previous, you know.
Well, that's something we can apply to like in a social context, larger outside of the fire department. It's like if there's too much of this outrage or this I'm a victim and things like that, then it makes it really harder. And I'm not here to judge who's the real victim and who's not the victim, because it's very degrees, and everybody who complains about stuff, there's a lot of truth to it. But if you do it too much, though, then it makes it so much harder to deal with the real problems.
Let's give real life but extreme examples.
Okay.
You got a guy who went to war and he joined the Marines with his best friend since they were 6 years old. Fast forward, and now they're in Fallujah, and he just watched that same friend that he convinced to join the Marines get blown to pieces, and he's picking up his legs and guts in this intense situation, right?
Right.
That guy has PTSD, and then you have some 20-year-old at some university who goes, I saw Donald Trump today, and now I can't handle life.
Right.
No, you don't have PTSD. You have issues with being fucking tough.
Right.
You need to.
Well, I agree with you, but I also see the point that you know we've been modified as humans, or some humans have been modified. That really is, whether it's realistic to us or not, that really does cause a dramatic thing to them because of how they've been brought up or how they've raised or this.
But the solution's
social
a lot
have.
easier.
Yeah.
You just spend you got to break them back down and build them back up in a tough way to give them the confidence that you can get past this little shit in life.
All right.
You are strong enough to not let this shit bother you, and somebody has to reprogram them to do that. And it's not really that hard. You just show them a couple examples of them getting past something, and a lot of people, just life. Look how many people are not as whiny in their 40s and 50s like that, you know, because they've just been dealt with so much shit over and over again.
Or they're just too busy working to have time to be whiny.
Yeah, you know?
I wish I had the energy to be as whiny.
But then that same person driving to work sees a kid get hit by a car and their brains splattered all over the road, and then they aren't the same anymore. That's understandable. They're not just, my boss is mean to me.
Right.
You know, yeah.
Definitely not the same. Well, we're getting close on time here. Let's end on.
Yeah.
I've got a laundry list of.
Okay, first one I want to go over that I forgot to tell you about earlier. I want
ahead.
a message to the people. Don't fucking text and drive. Ever.
Right.
It's never worth it. I am guilty of it time to time because I'm like, fuck it. I'll just peek real quick, you know? But as soon as I do it, I'm beating myself at work because of the shit I've seen. I saw a car of girls that were doing meth. And they were from a pretty affluent neighborhood, so they were doing meth.
So it was good meth.
Yeah, they were doing meth just to fuck with their parents or something like that.
Right.
Driving. The cell phone showed the text that was being sent. They hit a median head on. So, like, you know, where the highways divide and they have that triangle Jersey barrier? They hit that in the point. The impact stopped the car so fast that the girl's head came forward, but her body stayed in place and she severed her spine.
Like the head totally detached?
No. She just inside the body, the spine was severed.
Jesus. What was the text? Was it something ironic? Like, that don't text and drive law. That's stupid.
No, it was just about making plans for where they were going.
Right.
Like, be there and whatever, you know? It's like, God damn. Anybody else in this car could have done it. And then the other people in the car we were doing math, and they were just all open about everything. The other one I saw, it was last day of school, 2 girls walking home, a lady driving down the street, going southbound. They're walking northbound on the sidewalk, checks her text, goes up on the sidewalk, runs the girl over. When I got there, this little girl was in so much trauma that her body was pulling all the blood to her vital organs. So she had these lacerations in her leg that must have been about an inch to an inch and a half deep from where the tires in the car metal had cut her open. And I remember looking at her going, I can almost see down to the fucking bone in this little kid's body. And I'm looking at these like, do we patch this up? What the fuck do we do? And I'm like, there's no blood. It was like this gray white meat in there and no blood. And that's when I realized the blood was all pooling up into the organs to protect it. And
Did you tell me that she survived?
She didn't make it.
Okay.
Last day of school, this lady had the text message was more important than this girl's life.
Jesus Christ.
That lady took off. The cops arrested her, and obviously because she took off, hit and run, they checked everything, and they found out she was texting. And then she admitted, I heard my phone go off on my purse, and I thought it was a call, so I looked real quick, and blah, blah, blah.
But why didn't you stop?
Or just don't. Just
Right.
fucking don't. You know? You got cars all around you, and those are two of the most egregious ones. I've seen way more involvement of texting and driving. Sorry, I got hit head on with the motorcycle because the person was texting and driving. Over and over again, I see phone-related issues that are fucking people up more than drunk driving. Drunk driving, they hit a building, they fuck themselves up.
So I was going to ask, as far as the accidents that you go to, automotive related, is
Day drunks do cause chaos, but late night drunks, they're taking out themselves and other drunks. Like that old joke goes, you know.
I just thought of that last night. I was working and I was going to an address, and I came down this road in South Minneapolis again, and I pass a big jacked up F-150. And it was like tilted forward and was missing its front right wheel. So I'm like, oh, this dude his lift kit must have failed on him or something on his truck. So I stopped, and I was going to come back and ask if he wanted to ride or make sure he was okay and everything. Mm-hmm. And there was nobody in the fucking truck. There's nobody there. And the lights are on, and the hazards were blinking. And then my headlights catch a Prius a couple blocks down the road. I was like, holy fuck. And it's all smashed up and on the side of the road. So I drove down there, and I started calling 911. At that point, I'm like, there's been an accident. And the person on 911 wants me to go check and see if there's anybody in there. So I get out and I go to the Prius. Nobody in the Prius either. Turns out what we'd figured out when the cops arrived was that he was either drunk or distracted driving or something, and the Prius was just parked there on the side of the road, and the guy hit it with the truck. Pulled his truck over. It like tore the front.
I love that a giant
knuckle.
truck hit a Prius. Like,
Yeah,
it just
I
seems
know.
like a political fight followed and everything.
It gets even sweeter. I put a video on Facebook because I was recording the whole thing. He's got a sticker right on the fender of his truck. It's got the Sparta helmet.
Oh yeah,
but with the American flag and the blue line.
Yeah.
The
thin blue line.
It's so perfect. And then clearly this person left the scene of the accident.
Cops have very little modesty. Have you noticed that? I mean, like, just talk about bragging. I saw, this is not a cop thing, but I saw a military sticker, and I have like a little military emblem on my car.
Nice.
That's it. This guy's fucking bumper sticker was
gigantic.
10 inch, yeah, 12
Well,
inch
I've seen the one with the whole back glass, like paratrooper, no.
This one said,
in Vietnam and this.
freedom isn't free.
Right.
I paid for it.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Holy shit, buddy. Were you in the Civil War? Were you in the American Revolution? Anyways, sidetracked. So, God, some of these stories. Which ones do you want to go over on that list?
Well, I just want to go down. I just know which one I want to finish on. What was the heroin store?
The heroin story?
Yeah, you had a specific heroin story. I thought that was.
Well, yeah. This was probably because it was so relatable. Like, it actually like pulled me in really deep into this one. Went to a house for an OD essentially, and it was This was the night before school too. For some reason, day before school and first day of school. Maybe it just sticks more. But anyways, these two kids, we roll up the scene, and I go, "Hey, okay, there's two kids out here." I go, "This your house?" They go, "Yeah, our dad's not okay." And I'm like, "All right, do you have somewhere you can go?" So a neighbor came out. She's like, "Yeah, they can come with me." And they're like, "Are you safe with this lady?" And yeah, okay. And then they start walking away, and the boy turns out and goes, "Don't let my daddy die." Holy shit, dude!
All right.
Go inside. The guys, I mean, this is 10 seconds it took for this to happen, right? And we go inside, and there's a guy out on the floor, and his wife just crying over him. I look around, there's a Gojira flag on the wall, which is a heavy metal band, and I just started saying, I'm like, oh my God, these guys have fucking the exact same very unique taste in music I do of these weird metal bands. They got concert tabs from concerts I've been to, and like, if any other situation, I'd be like, man, that was a great show, let's talk about it, you know? But here's this guy who dresses like I dress, looks kind of like I look. His wife looks kind of like my wife. And he's out. He's done. He's OD'd on heroin. She tells us, I didn't even know he was doing heroin. I knew. I
thought he was diabetic.
No. He got addicted to Oxy. Because he had cluster headaches. He got a new job, and the insurance said, you don't get Oxy anymore until we reapprove and do all the things again. So a coworker at his new job said, until you get your Oxy, just do a few bumps of heroin.
I hope that was recorded somewhere so they could fucking sue the fuck out of them.
So this lady's telling us this whole thing, right? As we're doing CPR on him and everything, and we're okay, and she goes, he was going to rehab tomorrow when the kids went to school. He was going to start going to rehab. He told me today, this morning, he had a heroin addiction, but it's going to kick it and he's going to go to rehab. They left to go shopping, came back, he was dead. I'm like, oh my fucking God, you know, like this guy got drug, like so many other heroin addicts, they got drug in by a prescription from a trusted doctor to this. You know that when rich people and their good insurance, when they get off Oxy, do you know they don't go right off Oxy? They get taken down progressively over time. But most insurance companies don't do that. They wean them off of it.
Okay.
They take them off slowly so they don't.
I thought the way that was supposed to be. If you're.
It is, but insurance companies don't look at that. They want that. What's the cheapest way to do it?
Really?
So since most people don't have an addictive personality, it's cheaper to just do this and let a few people die.
Right. Holy fuck.
So we're working this guy. I mean, he dies. She's screaming.
Was he alive when you got there and you just lost him, or do you not?
No,
know?
I mean, he was OD'd on heroin. If we wouldn't have showed up, he would have died.
Okay.
You know, there's kind of a saying in our job, like, they're already dead. We're making it better.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Right.
So, first couple weeks of school go by, maybe like October rolls by, and I start thinking about this fucking Christmas is coming up for these kids. And they didn't have a lot of money, it looked like, to begin with. And now that the main financier passed away,
right.
Fuck. So I wrote them a letter and I dropped it off in their mailbox at their house on my way out of work. And I said, return an envelope just saying yes or no. Or just saying yes if you want to agree to this. I basically wrote up this thing saying, we've agreed to pitch in money and we will buy you all the presents you want. Just include your kids' wish lists in here and we'll drop it off and no one has to know we did it. She wrote back eventually saying like,
my kids want some heroin. It's weird.
They want crack. And I said, I know Joey. They, she said she thanked us and everything like that, but she didn't take us up on our offer, which really I wish she would have, because it would have honestly eased my mental anguish more if I could have done something. And since then,
she must have really hated her kids. Fuck these kids.
Oh no, I think somebody else probably helped take care of them or whatever. You know, there's good people in this world. So, but since then, now I can't get this thought in my head of all these fucked up Christmases I've been to, of all these kids who have fucked up Christmases.
Right.
You shouldn't have a fucked up Christmas or a birthday as a kid. That should be like 2 days. You should. Maybe you did. You know, but I'm like, man, I feel so bad. I had a good life growing up, and I feel so bad for these fucking kids who don't get to experience that.
Well, I did have horrible Christmases and birthdays, so I'm going to send a list to your firehouse.
Do it. I will invite you over for any Christmas or birthday.
He wants 5 PlayStations? What the fuck?
You can come up for any Christmas and birthday and fucking party, with
nice.
me. Because, yeah, I view Christmas in a whole different way. I don't do it with family because I just didn't get to choose my family, and they don't see the importance in humanity and life in that day that I do.
Oh, man, we got the same family.
Yeah, so I'm like, you guys are all just taking it as, it's a day where we get fucking drunk together and buy each other stupid gifts we're going to throw away. And I'm like, this is a day that really means a lot to some kids and some people.
Right.
You know, this is a monumental day. If you've had a major life-changing issue, this is one of those days that reminds you of how fucking life-changing the summer was.
Exactly.
You know? So I'm getting a charity event going.
Nice.
For I'm not gonna plug it because I don't want to be associated.
Right.
But in the charity event at the end of the day is gonna have a bunch of meatheads raising money to buy Christmas gifts for a homeless youth shelter.
Okay.
Because I don't think kids should have to go without Christmas. There's never a fault where you're like, yeah, you don't get a fucking Christmas, loser, you know, because you're gay or because your dad died or whatever. It just sucks. So I've got this thing now where I have to fucking try to be a Santa Claus.
That would be weird if Santa didn't come to you because you were gay. Like, I got a naughty list, a good list, and a guy who sucks dick list.
Dude, can you imagine? Well, think about this for real. Like, I was talking to a gay friend, and he got kicked out of his house when he came out. Can you imagine your parents telling you, like, hey, mom, dad, I like to fucking jerk off to anal porn. You're out of here, idiot. We don't love you anymore.
Right.
Dude, that kid needs to come to my house and get spoiled rotten on Christmas to show that some regular jabroni middle-class dude who probably looks like what your dad wants to be or whatever, you know, the masculine character that your dad wishes he was. And you need to understand that we're not all assholes.
Right.
We're not all against you. Your dad OD'd. I'm sorry. There are good people out here, though, that are not like the drug dealers who sold your dad those drugs. They're good people who want to make your lives better.
Right.
And I really want to keep reinforcing that, you know, and whatever, just not letting these kids have bad days. The other heroin overdose on Christmas, a girl overdosed on heroin. She left to California to get cleaned up, came back for Christmas, just couldn't stay away from the boyfriend she ran away from. Mm-hmm. She overdosed at his house. We responded, and he's going, yeah, she overdosed. The cop yells, what the fuck did you guys do to her? She had been raped multiple times before they called 911 about her overdose.
What?
on Christmas fucking day.
His girlfriend.
Yeah.
And like there was other dudes there or something? And
A little heroin den. And they just took turns banging on her.
were they charged, arrested? How does
Yeah, they arrested all those guys that night.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. And we didn't even know it from her because she's not able to talk or whatever. And we're not going to look at her fucking crotch.
She lived, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Did she know what was going on? Did she
No,
know?
they just found her clothes, like her panties and stuff like that were torn up and everything, kind of like asking about it. And then they found whatever they found for like evidence of a rape scene, and then they just confessed to it.
Okay.
The boyfriend felt so much guilt, he confessed to it or whatever, but he's still a piece of shit person.
Right.
There's another one. That's another thing you think about on Christmas. Man, I wonder what she's doing nowadays, and Christmas is never going to be the fucking same for her.
Right.
And I'm not religious either, so I don't know why I have this thing about fucking Christmas so much. But anyways, and heroin, surprisingly, the heroin overdoses I've seen have dropped off significantly ever since China scheduled their fentanyl as a class 1 drug. Because now they're not cutting heroin with fentanyl, and so it's back to the low dose potency of the original heroin.
Oh, is that what the biggest cause was?
Yeah, because fentanyl's so potent. Right now, if you take there's fentanyl pills. If I shaved off a sliver, right, and then did like this, we'd both be fucking so high we'd have to go to the hospital or need Narcan.
Okay, so that's the drug that like when cops are stopping people, they sometimes inhale it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a whole class on that.
I don't really know too much about it. I know it's an issue. I know it's a big deal,
Yeah,
and
it's
deadly.
going away because China was the main supplier of that.
So why? What are they just? We're not using it anymore. Not importing it anymore.
No, because it wasn't. It was just a free. Yeah, it was a free for all. So
and it's an opioid. Opioid.
Yeah,
right?
they had no regulation on it, so they don't tracking measures for all the. If you can make fentanyl and you can sell it, do it. We're not going to check on you.
Wow.
And that's China. Now they said it's class 1 drug, so you have to follow it the whole way it's going. And if you find anybody making it unregulated, you have to arrest them for a long term. It's a good thing ultimately.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, and there's a ton of heroin stories from the last few years, but they're going away quickly, which is good.
That's good to know. Well, let's talk about, you had a specific suicide story, and then I wanted to ask you about, suicide issues within
Which
fire.
was a suicide story?
I don't remember. You had one that you had mentioned.
Oh, the first run call I ever went on.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was a guy shot himself in the head, and he was still at a pulse when we got there, very minimal pulse. And I started doing CPR, and my first push. Remember that Saturday Night Live commercial, the fake commercial, Big Red?
Right, yeah.
It should have sprayed red everywhere. That's what happened to this guy's head. 2 red lines shot out of his head.
Oh, my
God.
God.
I better not do that again. So we bandaged him up, then I did it again.
So it was a through and through type So he just
But
had
as we were looking for the bandages, I remember this cop, she stands over me, and she says to her partner, the gun is on one side of him, and there's a burn hole in the side of his fucking head. And she's examining his head as we're getting the bandages. And she goes, I wonder which side he shot himself on. Detective work is not for you, ma'am.
I was going to say, she's not a detective. Was
No.
she? Jesus Christ.
I was like, Jesus Christ. I'm new here, and I can figure this out.
Right. Holy fuck.
Yeah, so and then I went in there, and this guy, he went to do a tracheotomy, and there's a little bulb that you drop in there, and it broke in the guy's throat, and like, he already had no pulse at this time and wasn't going to make it. His brains were outside of his head.
Jesus
he was just slowly dying, more slowly than he should have.
Right. Well, tell me about.
Oh, there was a guy who committed suicide, and he made a wax figurine of his hand giving the finger. So when you saw the body, and you cut it and you got it down, the hand appeared behind him.
Oh, he hung himself.
He hung himself with a wax hand behind him, giving the finger to whoever cut him down.
Oh, I kind of appreciate that amount of thought. And
The best suicide I ever saw, the guy who his friend found him, he told us, I'm his only friend. He has no family, whatever, and he's been diagnosed with stage 4 brain cancer. So what he did, he put all his Marine decor, which must have been his most proud moment of his life, right? He put all his Marine stuff in his motorcycle shop up, display piece. It was obviously a display he had set up for himself. He put on Band of Brothers on a loop, watched it until, well, now it's time, blew his brains out. I remember his brains were all over a Swiss one of those big Swiss balls.
okay.
Just all over it. I was like, man, it looks so weird. It looks like somebody just chunked Sloppy Joe across this whole thing.
Jeez.
And his friend goes, you know what? They said he was going to die in a few months, and he just took it into his own hands. That's a fucking awesome suicide story. You know what?
If I'm ever in one of those situations, I'm definitely going to kill myself.
I'm going on my fucking terms.
Right.
Fuck you, cancer.
If it's everything's, like there's no hope, you're going to go down.
Yeah, and you got no family who needs you for those last few days or whatever. You just
Right.
run a motorcycle shop and fuck it.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about suicide issues within firefighters. And I guess this kind of goes back to what we were saying about PTSD. I'm sure that's like the ultimate worst result. But has there been a larger amount of suicides per capita versus? Okay.
Yeah, there's more suicides in the fire service than there is in most other career fields. You just can't handle the demons at a certain point, and the alcoholism, and the shit gets to you.
Oh shit.
You're off gassing in the wrong ways, and whatever. You're not talking to people. It's an unfortunate thing, and yeah, they kill themselves, or they work themselves up to a point where they die, and it's like a stress induced suicide almost.
Wow.
Or some guys just take it upon themselves. It's really fucked up though, because they know how to do it so well. The last firefighter suicide I saw, where the guy put I'm not gonna say how to kill yourself, but he put a certain
I was just debating if I should ask you, what's the best way to kill yourself? Like,
he put a certain thing in a bag and slid the bag over his head and had a really calm just descent.
Interesting.
And
some kind of inhalant, I'm assuming.
So it's they do things like that, and they cut their wrists in the bathtub so it doesn't make a big mess, and things like that. It's like really weird. We had retired firefighters. I've been in retired firefighters who kill themselves because they just don't know what to do with their lives.
Does any firefighter ever kill themselves by fire? Do they ever?
No, you'd think so.
That just
maybe it's a fire wind, so it's not a good thing.
Just make a fire pit and just jump in.
And then some firefighters just disappear.
Really?
You just don't know if they killed themselves or they just ran away from home or what happened.
That happens a lot?
Not a lot, but it does happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. We see one guy once in a while just pop up and he's just homeless and running around town like a crazy person.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. They tried picking him up one day and bringing him for official, like, sign your paperwork, you're done. And he got in the car and about 2 blocks later got out and ran away.
Whoa.
Just lost it.
I wonder if it was attached to the job, though. It's got to be, right?
Man, who knows? He might also got fucked when he was 4 years old and that just can't
He
keep...
finally caught up on it?
Yeah, who knows?
Jesus. Another one I wanted you to tell about was the kidnapping, injecting the victim with meth store.
Yeah, so that was the same guys who found this person I'm going to tell you about, their week started out by finding the firefighter who put the bag over his head and killed himself. They got a call, hotel, this guy hasn't come out, and it's way past check-in. We went to look at him, and he looks like he's sleeping. Can you check on him?
Jesus.
No, he's not sleeping. He's killed himself.
You always sleep with a bag on your head.
Yeah. And they didn't go to the room. They opened the door, and they just saw his feet still in the blanket and everything. Like, he's in there. From the angle, like, did you go in there? He's like, no, I just opened the door and saw, like, feet. Okay. So we go in there, and it was a coworker. Then a few days later, these guys...
When somebody worked in your firehouse?
No, he's just on the job with us. So we go out, and a couple days later, these guys were not on this run with him, but they came back and they told us about it. And what happened was a guy living in a shelter for a transitional home for homeless people who were supposed to be getting on their feet, was watching the neighborhood and looking for a kid. And one guy who was kind of what do they call, a handyman? And he's going to help this. He had this lady that he would regularly go see, and he brought his daughter with. And he walked in with his tools. And this is the neighborhood describing what happened, the lady and stuff. He walked in with his tools, and the dad describing it. Realized she was a few steps behind him, and the door shut. Said to her, "Hey, you in here?" "Oh, she's not." Went out. She's gone.
Wow.
That quickly. They found her in that halfway home, naked. She's about 6, 8 years old, naked, and he had injected her with heroin.
Jesus Christ.
Was molesting her and everything.
Oh, it was heroin. I thought it was.
No, meth. It was meth.
Oh, it was meth. Okay.
Yep. He injected her with meth, and then they found her all just strung out and everything, and she was just like, amped up, and she's just asking like, "Can I go home?" Whatever, and really fucking tense situation. These guys, I'm like, you guys saw the worst shit people should see.
How did they? Do you know how they found her? Were they doing like door-to-door searches?
Everybody in that shelter knew who did it. As soon as there was an Amber Alert in that area,
right,
they were calling 911 saying, "I know who did it. I know who did it."
Whoa.
Because they all knew the guy was a chomo,
right,
and nobody was watching him. So they took it upon themselves to watch him.
Holy shit. Good for them for doing that.
Yeah.
I think we kind of covered that one already. So we got 2 more left. Let's do the masturbation one. The guy who was kind of the couple that was so there's this call.
This guy's acting erratic. He's running around his apartment building spraying fire extinguishers, punching doors, butt naked. Crazy person. Go to check on him. His partner says, no, he's with me. He needs help. Get him to a hospital.
All right.
Okay. Get him in the ambulance and everything. And on the way down to the hospital, the guy starts jerking it. My partner goes, hey.
So he's in the gurney?
Yeah.
And he's just back there and he's
going to pound town on himself.
Okay. So when he learned him on the gurney, was he like hard already?
No,
he
was
not
just,
hard yet?
okay, I'll calm down.
Right.
And then after a couple minutes of silence, just nobody's really talking to each other. He just, and they, hey, knock it off. Hey, I said fucking knock it off. And he's just getting more into it.
Is he acknowledging him? Is this
no, he's just keeps jerking it. So like, yeah, he's insane, whatever. And so my partner's like, quit fucking beating off in here. Get your dick out of your hand. And he slaps him in the face.
Oh,
he goes, knock it off. He slaps him in the hand, then slaps him in the face and starts to like kind of get him to stop.
Right.
And the guy just keeps going. We get him to the hospital. And he's still pounding.
Did he come?
No.
Okay.
He probably came like 9 times before that,
right.
I'm guessing. So we get him to the hospital, bring him in. His partner's there. I want to meet up with him. Where's he at? Okay, well, what happened? The cops are asking questions and stuff like that. He goes, all right. So we were using some recreational drugs, and we get pretty heavy into S&M. And I go, whoa. Hold on a second. So if your partner was masturbating and somebody was to say slap him,
right,
would that make him not want to masturbate? Or would that try? And the guy's like, huh? And I was like, oh, never mind. And I look at my partner and I go, yeah, you help that guy fucking get off.
He'll always remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So the last one I want to finish with is the, and you didn't really tell me any of this, just told me what it was about, and it was about a fisting death. So, last story on the Filter Free America podcast.
This isn't funny. This isn't funny, Joey. This is a person died. What the 911 call was, there's been trauma to my girlfriend, and I think she's bleeding to death. We get there, and she had bled to death through her asshole. Because what happened? Well, we're into fisting, and I've never fisted her ass before. I've gotten close, but we've never gone all the way. But once I got started, we just got both so into it, I think I got too aggressive. He punched the inside of her asshole until her body bled too much and she died. And then he called 911.
Oh my God.
What was that conversation leading up to it as she's bleeding? No, I'm fine, honey. I'm fine. I'm just a little blown out.
What was the scene like? How described it? Was it blood and shit everywhere? Or
Yeah. But they had like a nice home and like nice shit. You'd never guess. This is going to be the couple that one of them dies from a fisting related injury in the butthole. Oh. But then again, you don't have to be weird, I guess. You don't have to be a bad person to be into fisting. You just, boy, they really didn't do the research into it.
I wonder if he came before he called, though.
Probably. I wonder if she did.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'd hope she did.
I would really hope so. You'd hate to get in the afterlife and be like, I didn't even come?
Right? Holy fuck. I would hate to have to. I think I'd be glad that I died too. I don't think I'd want to survive that. Like you get rescued and like your asshole is blown out from being fisted to death. Somebody's gonna know that story. Like it's gonna get out there.
The funeral had to be so fucking weird for the guy,
dude.
Hey, and they're talking about charging him and everything like that, but it's consensual. And
what are you gonna charge him with?
Well, that's what it came down to. Is what are you gonna charge him with? The guy's already been through a lot,
right?
It can happen.
Holy shit.
We had a guy. Okay, we'll tell you one more.
Okay,
one of the weirdest things I've ever walked in. This lady was just like near. It's called near syncopal. She was had fainting spells or whatever. Like felt like she was gonna faint, and it just seemed off. Like what's she doing? The guy seemed weird when he answered the door, and we walked into his house, and it was like a really nice big house with very little inside it, and everything was really dark. Not like the lights were turned down. Like everything in there was really dark and spooky.
Okay.
And it was like one of those really creepy, like almost like how you imagine a vampire would live.
Right.
You got money, you just do weird things with it.
Right.
And we go down the basement where this girl's at, and we're like, well, what's her story? What's her history? He doesn't know anything about this girl. Or maybe you guys just met, or maybe she's a prostitute.
Right.
Or maybe you fucking kidnapped her. I don't know what's going on. But everything in that house reeked of like, there's some weird shit going on in here, and we don't want to ask any questions. Just get out before we end up in her situation. But that guy, I can't really describe it really well, but that's the most eerie person I've ever been around. And all the weird shit I've seen, that guy made me the most fucking uncomfortable.
So was she okay, or what was the?
She wouldn't talk to us.
Really?
It was that led more to the weirdness. Like, okay, you're removed from the situation. What's going on? And she wouldn't talk to us. I'm pretty sure she was a prostitute, and he had hired her.
Okay.
But I'm wondering what she was hired to do, because it didn't seem like come in and bang me, suck my dick, and you're out of here. It was like some like ritualistic shit going on in there, and I was like, I want to know what these guys were doing.
Holy fuck!
What did she get hired for?
Crazy.
Yeah. So, well,
how many dead? One last question. How many dead prostitutes have you responded to?
not dead, but a lot of homeless women who hook, trick for money, and they're people that homeless people would pay for sex, not people that people with money would pay for sex. So,
right.
And they end up just getting gang raped a lot and stuff like that. The first one I went to, who was a homeless woman gang raped by a dumpster behind a homeless shelter.
She was gang raped by a dumpster?
Between the two dumpsters where people shit. So she's covered in piss
God.
and shit, and she'd just been raped. And she's trying to pull her pants up, and she wants to go take a piss. And we go, no, you can't do any of that. You got to save everything, leave it as is for the rape kit. She goes, rape kit? Yeah, ma'am, you were raped. And she's on her treasure. She goes, I know. And we go, well, yeah, but you need to go log this into evidence. And these guys are getting arrested around her.
Right.
Because the cops saw it. The cops drove by and saw it happening. And they started arresting people. And we go, you were raped. You got to go get the rape kit sweet. And she goes, I don't give a fuck. You don't give a fuck about I don't give a fuck that I was raped. She's like, you think it's my first fucking time, dumbass? And I was like,
wow.
Whoa. I'm just here to help.
Wow. That's a good way to end this episode.
I'm just here to help.
Just here to help the lady who's been raped multiple times and doesn't.
And is mad at me for it.
Holy shit. Dude.
Trying to help.
Holy shit.
Oh, crazy people, man. That's the majority of what you're dealing with is crazy people, and that becomes the norm.
Right.
And then you start wondering how many fucking crazy people there are out there.
Jesus, dude. Well, thank you for the conversation.
Hey, thanks for having me. It probably did a lot for my PTSD to offload some of this shit.
Great. Now I'm going to go upstairs and fist my girlfriend to death.